It's not just the counterculture which seeks its Tazes, its nomad encampments, and Knights of Liberation from the consensus. Self-organized and autonomous groups are springing up amongst every class and subculture. Vast tracts of the Babylonian Empire are now virtually empty, populated only by the spooks of mass media and a few psychotic policemen. Taz theory realizes that this is happening. We're not talking about should or will be. We're talking about an already existing movement. And so we've had to consider the fact that not all existing autonomous zones are temporary. Some are, at least by intention, more or less permanent. Certain cracks in the Babylonian monolith appear so vacant that whole groups can move into them and settle down. Certain theories, such as permaculture, have been developed to deal with this situation and make the most of it. Villages, communes, communities, even arcologies and biospheres, or other utopian city forms are being experimented with and implemented. Even here, however, Taz theory may offer some useful thought tools and clarifications. What about a poetic, a way of making, and a politique, a way of living together for the permanent Taz or Paz? What about the actual relation between temporariness and permanence? And how can the Paz renew and refresh itself periodically with the festival aspect of the Taz? Need to unmute myself here. All right, and welcome to the Vonu Podcast, the podcast making you invulnerable to coercion. I'm Shane, and
I'm Jason.
Yeah. So of course this is a live stream. It's been a rocky road getting here. Let me just say that we were ready. 10 minutes before the time we were supposed to go live, before 11 a.m. Central, and YouTube said live streaming is not available. So I don't know what that's about. So we said, well, hey, we'll try Float. I've been wanting to try Float anyway. Let's go ahead and head over there and give it a shot. But for some reason, the video wasn't showing up. So then, yeah, I moved over. I thought, Twitter would be better than Fascist Book. So let's try Twitter. I guess I couldn't go live on Twitter from the computer. I don't know why. There was no live button. So here we are on Fascist Book. Not exactly ideal or where I'd like to do this. No, I guess it really doesn't matter that much. It's still socialist media platforms. So anyway, yeah, this is a live stream. So please drop any questions or comments you may have in chat. Also, please consider sharing the stream around and subscribing here. Don't subscribe here on Fascist because we're not there. But yeah, make sure to subscribe on BitChute and Library, LBRY, for reasons such as exactly this, actually. So Jason, welcome back to the podcast, man. How are things going out in California?
I still have to wear a mask to go to the grocery store, but things are starting to open up, and Grubhub still has free delivery, so I can't complain too much.
Gotcha. Yeah, I noticed that the last time I went to Aldi, where that's where I get my grass-fed ground beef, or sometimes when I don't feel like driving an hour away, or when I need some to hold me over until I go to the local butcher. But yeah, Aldi they're doing this nonsense where you had to they had all the carts all pulled out with the quarters in them, so you didn't have to touch dirty quarters. So it's back to normal now finally. So there's no more inconveniences while I'm shopping. That was the only thing. Other than that, if there was no connection, if there was no internet, things would have just looked like normal here. Except it would have been strange because restaurants were closed. But I guess there could be explanations for that, right? I guess there could be other reasons. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's good things are coming back to normal, at least a little bit. But they are talking about that second wave.
Ish.
So
Ish normal.
Yeah. Yeah, they're still pushing it. They're definitely still pushing it. So we'll have to see how all that plays out. But anyway, I guess anything you'd like to report or anything you'd like to talk about before we get into this here.
Um, no, I mean let's just get into it. I mean, we've been waiting for what, half an hour now to get into it. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We should just
let's
go
stop
for it.
delaying.
Yeah, yeah. Is definitely true. Definitely true. So now that I've got you on screen, I guess I didn't hit transition, but it's been that type of morning, I guess, guys. I didn't think it had been, but yeah, apparently that's what was in store. So here's what I have in mind for this episode today. We'll start by covering the timeline from the Wikipedia page for the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, and we'll touch on the important details. TVP isn't a news podcast, so and Derek Bros did put out a great video on the topic yesterday. I'll show that on screen here in a moment whenever we get over to the topic at hand. And I don't see the need to reinvent the wheel, as I've said, like a handful of times in the last few podcasts. There's as we've talked about, the time to do a lot of these things is now, and we don't want, and there's no need to waste time. We need to get building and all that good stuff. So, yeah, he's followed more of what's happened in Seattle in the past and offered additional insight that I didn't have. Namely, the 6-7 block area the Chaz is in. That's the shorthand, the Chaz. It's already the counterculture part of Seattle. The large majority of individuals and businesses would support this kind of activism. If they didn't, they could have left 20 years ago, right? And we'll talk about that more in a moment. But yeah, we'll briefly discuss the list of demands. But again, Derek covered that in his show, so I'll point you in his direction here momentarily. Then, and this is what I'm most looking forward to, and probably what we'll spend the most time on. We'll compare and contrast this with the Malheur Wildlife Refuge occupation back at the end of 2015 and beginning of 2016, since that's basically the right-wing version of what we're seeing in Seattle, only the roles are reversed. During the Malheur occupation, the left was the side calling the other domestic terrorists. So, for us anarchists, it looks like the same movie over again, right? As it always does with this left-right paradigm bullshit. But we'll get to that more later on. And obviously, we both despise political crusading, and this is exactly the reason why. It makes otherwise intelligent people really stupid and really susceptible to brainwashing and mind control. So. Anyway, yeah, I figure at this point we can talk about the possible responses by the state and lessons learned for the future. So let's go ahead and get into the timeline here. Give me 1 second to get transitioned over. Oh, take a breath. Gosh. Okay, guess full screen. Here we go. All right, so this is the video Derek Bros did yesterday, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, Exercise in Anarchism or something else. I definitely do recommend you go check that out, and hopefully the audio is coming through okay. I was looking at the chat on my smartphone here, and it looks like things are people haven't said there's no audio, so I think there's audio. So we'll go ahead and roll with it. So yeah, check out Derek's video from yesterday, and we'll just start with the Wikipedia page here. Because guys, honestly, as far as research, I've done this for 3 or 4 years now, and Kyle Radin was one that kind of I guess he kind of introduced me to this idea. But anytime I start research, I start with the Wikipedia page. It works very, very well. It gives you starting points for your research if you're looking for them. So we're going to talk about research today because I think some people have forgotten how to do research. But yeah, more on that in a moment. The Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, Chaz, also known as Free Capitol Hill, is a self-declared autonomous zone in the Capitol Hill neighborhood of Seattle, Washington. The zone, covering approximately 6 city blocks, was established on June 8th, 4 days ago, 2020, after Capitol Hill's East Precinct building was abandoned by the Seattle Police Department. Local governance in the zone is decentralized, with the goal of creating a neighborhood beyond policing. Purported demands associated with the zone include rent control, degentrification, police abolition, or defunding, funding of community health, and the dropping of legal charges against the protesters. I'm going to skip that. It's just reactions from people. Let's see. Capitol Hill is a district in downtown Seattle known for its prominent LGBTQIA. Gosh, I always struggle with that acronym. And counterculture communities. The district had previously been a center for other mass protests, such as the 1999 WTO protests and Occupy Seattle. So, as I said just a moment ago, and this is a really good point that Derek brought up yesterday, because again, I hadn't been following the stuff in Seattle. I knew whenever there was some conflict between the right and the left there a few years ago. Kyle and I have talked about that, but I guess I didn't know a lot of the details. But yeah, this is a district in downtown Seattle that's known for its counterculture community, as Derek brought up. So these people, this has been going on. The 1999 WTO protest, that was 21 years ago, right? 21 years ago. So if these businesses and individuals wanted to leave, they could have a long time. And I'm not saying that's necessarily fair, but I'm just saying like this has been going on for a long time. It's not, and this isn't the first time. So yeah, anything on that?
No, it's no different than like the San Francisco, the Heighton Ashbury area, or
Yeah, like there's one in
did you see
Houston, there's one in
Berkeley?
Austin. Yeah, they're all over the place. Yeah.
Yep. And I came this close to going to the WTO protest in 1999
Yeah.
when I was living in Humboldt County.
Gotcha. All right, let's see. Looks like things are going fine on the stream. People are joining. No one's saying there's bad audio. Okay. Cool.
Henzo, what's up, homie?
I guess I should give some shout outs to people, huh? That's the right thing to do on these sorts of things.
You always have to shout out Henza.
Have
it's
to.
morally.
And Matthew Panation, welcome, my friend. Hope you're doing well up there in the Pacific Northwest. But yeah, welcome Dan, Jessica, Kevin, Christoph Arthur, and yeah, welcome. So back to it. Protests over the killing of George Floyd and police brutality began in Seattle on May 29th, 2020. Get you full screen so you guys can read and follow along. In the Washington National Guard, on June 5th, Mayor Jenny Durkan and SPD Chief Carmen Best announced a 30-day ban on the use of tear gas. Protests eventually coalesced around the SPD's East Precinct building, where the SPD used aggressive dispersal tactics, including blast balls, flashbangs, and pepper spray. By June 7, metal fencing and large cement blocks were placed around the precinct. Later that day, a car drove into a crowd of protesters, after which the driver shot a protester in the arm before running behind police lines. Pure insanity. The crowd outside the precinct grew, and police reporting that protesters were throwing bottles, rocks, and fireworks were authorized to resume the use of tear gas shortly after midnight. Over 12,000 complaints were filed about the police response to the demonstrations. Following afternoon, in a police retreat, the SPD abandoned the East Precinct, covering the windows with plywood and leaving the front door open. Protesters erected street barricades.
Okay.
What's up?
All right, one quick thing on this precinct right here.
Mhm.
It's not a standalone building. It's actually part of a larger apartment building, and they were under the impression that people were going to throw Molotovs into the police precinct to burn it like they did in Minneapolis. So their logic was abandoning the police station would save the building and the apartments for the people that live in the apartments.
Right. Yes. And that makes sense. And there's one tweet I'll show a little later. Sorry, I was testing my blood sugar while we're doing this. I'll show a picture later, or a video. There's a guy within the past 12 or 24 hours that looked like he was going to try to burn it down, but a good Samaritan, followed him on camera and prevented it from happening. So we'll show that on video here later on.
Yeah. Agent provocateur.
Possibly so. Yeah. Possibly so. Probably so. We'll get back to it. The following afternoon, in a police retreat, the SPD abandoned the East Precinct, covered the windows with plywood, leaving the front door open. Protesters erected street barricades and declared the area Free Capitol Hill. The zone is centered around the East Precinct building, a police precinct which the police abandoned on June 8th. It stretches north to the East Denny Way, east to 13th Avenue, south to East Pike, and west to Broadway. So internal governance. Occupants have stated their intentions as creating a neighborhood beyond policing and a society where the police are no longer necessary. Protesters have accepted others openly carrying firearms as a provision of safety. This great part right here. Members of the self-described anti-fascist, anti-racist, and pro-worker Puget Sound John Brown Gun Club were seen with rifles in this zone. Great. Great. I love it. Reporters from a local Seattle-based...
Shout out to the homie at the front line.
Mm-hmm. Yep, indeed. And I think that one. I think I have that picture up too, and if not, I can pull it up on Fascist Book. But yeah, there was a guy with an AR defending the I guess the so-called the quote unquote border, and he had a come and take it patch on. So
the defense distributed 3D printed file, come and take it.
Yep. Oh. Indeed. So reporters from a local Seattle-based Fox affiliate were removed from the zone by occupants. Good. I think that's great. Bill Cooper talked about in the 90s, never talk to the mainstream media because they will always don't be kind to them and give them a story, because they won't be kind to you. They will lie about you. They will call you a terrorist. Do not talk to mainstream media, to government-controlled media. So Great by them. Fuck the government-controlled media, right?
No, the mainstream media is a business. They are in the business of making a profit.
Yeah.
They will sensationalize. They will lie. They will omit facts. They will manipulate. They will do whatever they can to bring in viewers, customers, so that they can charge more for advertising.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yep. Exactly right. Exactly right. Okay, so let's see. Where were we? According to a June 10th article by City Journal, former mayoral candidate Nikita Oliver formulates the commune's political strategy. There's no clear leader among the protesters. Reports describe the zone as a cross between Occupy Wall Street and an independent student housing cooperative. Right-wing media misreported the zone's activity as dangerous and violent. Fox News described Seattle rapper and activist Raz Simone self-positioning as a leader within the zone. He was accused of policing the zone after a video showed him shoving another man tagging a building. Seattle officials have not seen evidence of Antifa umbrella groups organizing the zone. So they've actually updated that since this morning. So interesting that that's right-wing media misreported the zone's activity as dangerous and violent. I don't think that was there a few hours ago when I was preparing for this. I don't recall. Just a point there. But Wikipedia pages are always updated, so I'm not saying anything by that. Just an observation. Demands. So they posted a list of demands, and we'll cover a little bit of it. The culture and amenities. Tents were pitched next to the former precinct in order to hold the space. The No Cop Co-op was established on June 9, offering free water, hand sanitizer, snacks donated by the community, and kebabs. The intersection of 12th and Pine was converted to a square for teach-ins where a microphone was used to encourage people who were there to fuck shit up to go home. I feel like they... Is that or go home? Is it supposed to be or go home? What? Or people who were there to do that. Oh, okay. I see now.
People that were there. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, guys. An outdoor cinema with a sound system and projector was set up and used to screen open-air movies. The first film shown was 13th, Ava DuVernay's documentary about racism and mass incarceration. Portable toilets were provided by the Seattle Department of Transportation. Frequent town halls are held where protesters decide strategy and make plans. Peaceful protests have been staged and organized, including an invasion of the city hall, demanding the resignation of Mayor Jenny Durkin. Call services are still being provided to the zone, including fire and trash removal. And there are even just activists who were there who realized that at some point people would have to handle trash. So what did they do? They stepped up. Great, beautiful. Yep. And the SPD has said that they will respond to 911 calls within the area. A block-long street mural saying Black Lives Matter is painted. Restaurant owners in the area have reported an uptick in walk-up business and a concomitant reduction in delivery costs. So for those like who were saying like, oh, they're out of food. Look, the commie utopias ran out of food within 24 hours. No, that was first off. We'll talk about this more, but that was a Photoshop tweet. And there are restaurants open. Mm-hmm. And if you go to the original source rather than mainstream media article, like all the people who are posting about this on Twitter, journalists who are there, so like they're taking pictures. There's live streams. There's all that stuff. So anyway, let me pop back over here. Go ahead. Yeah.
There's hundreds and hundreds of videos from inside the Chaz, and they show stores open.
Yeah,
people happy. There's signs. There's signs outside saying free bathroom use and. Yep. All sorts of stuff. I mean,
yeah. So I'll go to these couple points real quick, and since I just mentioned this, I'll go ahead and there's got a little something I want to mention here. So yeah, I'm sure most of our regular listeners do this, but we may have some some folks here on Fascist Tube who may not be researchers or whatever. So when it comes to events like these, instead of just sharing a phone news article or otherwise mainstream media, like I said, go to Twitter, go to Fascist Tube, and locate original sources. Journalists on the ground taking pictures and highlighting their experiences, individuals live streaming, etc. You can almost always find a live stream. Like I'll show you one. There was one 3 hours ago. It looked like street cameras, basically up all over the place. So maybe there's like a 24-hour feed from there now. Mm-hmm. So like you can always find live streams for these things. You don't have to take the word of government-controlled media. Like this isn't like we've got the internet now, guys. And obviously there's censorship and all that stuff, but we do have access to these videos and pictures and such. So in this case, the Photoshop tweet about homeless people stealing all their food and then them needing donations of vegan food items. Now I'll show you guys. I saw this claim brought up, and I always, I saw that this lady, this person had a handle on Twitter, so I went and found their handle, and I guess I followed her before she locked her account, so I got kind of lucky. But see, guys, like this is the first thing you should do when you start investigating these things. We'll start with this most recent tweet that she put out. There's no warlord in the Chaz. It's one dude being an asshole and getting into a fight with someone else. And from the live streams I've seen, I haven't really seen, like, I saw that video. Like Derek showed the video. Derek Bro showed the video of Raz, being a jerk. Coercing that one individual, not good at all. Not good at all. But to call that, warlording, what I consider warlording is like, imperialist military tactics, maybe using depleted uranium rounds on citizens. I don't know. Like, those are things I consider to be warlording. Drone bombing web at weddings. Like, I consider that warlording activities. I don't consider, one person being a jerk, or I guess maybe even a group of people being a jerk, or, being, very, very, very bad. I don't know. It's hyperbole, right? It's hyperbole. It's like calling a domestic terrorist.
Yeah.
So let me see here. Go back to what was the other comment I was going to make here? Okay, and I'll go back. I'll go down to, and these are this lady. The Twitter handle's Anarchomastia. So this is the original tweet for the warlord. I have that brought up here, and then this is. Oh gosh, there's a. All right, so this is the other one. Now I'm sure you guys saw a tweet. It was a white background. There was a tweet saying that they let homeless people in, and the homeless people stole all the food, and they need donations of vegan food. Well, it was a Photoshop tweet. You can kind of tell by the font. You can tell a little bit by the font, but this Anarchomastia. Important to note that the tweet being passed around and that the Chaz is out of food is Photoshop. The Chaz has plenty of food. No one stole any of it. Don't fall for disinfo. This is the original tweet, right here. And as was seen in that intro video, there's restaurants open. There's places with free food donations. Could they run out of food in a few days? Yeah, sure. I'm not saying that they couldn't. It's certainly possible, and we'll talk about how that's not so far out of range, and how the right wing folks, the constitutionalists there in Malheur, they had to ask for donations as well. So, I mean,
come on now. We all remember the hashtag please send snacks.
Yep, we all do. Yep.
I mean,
exactly.
there were people. There was a person that sent a box of dildos. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So let me just hop back into the chat here. Clear audio, good. Ness, welcome. That's right. That's right. Right Media isn't your friend. Just do what the Zapatistas did, and hold a journalist hostage to put out the correct story and go through proper channels to ensure they keep their autonomous property. Kyle's talked about the Zapatistas quite a bit, and I think actually in the next episode or two on the Building the Second Realm re-release. I'm pretty sure when we talk about lessons from organized crime, see guys, we talk. There's all sorts of people we can learn from. All sorts of organizations that have existed and have been tested out. We're here to learn about potential proof of concept. So Ness, great comment. Let me see. I don't think there's anything else there. Nope. Okay, and I'll get back to Twitter. One moment, folks. All right, full screen. Okay, in regards to this tweet, the last comment I have about the Photoshop tweet about the food. I mean, I've seen quite a few, I've seen quite a few anarchists and libertarians basically condemn this whole operation based off of that one fake tweet. So it was a very well placed piece of disinformation. It's been a little disappointing. I retweeted someone that posted it yesterday. And you can find that on my Twitter. And the last thing I'll say in regards to this is stop trusting people. There are so many people trying to take advantage of you right now. As Bill Cooper said, listen to everyone, read everything, but believe nothing unless you can verify it in your own research. I mean, the deception is so, the deception at play right now is really, really intense. In Event 201, it was called the flood of information, where there's so many possible theories that no one can, like, if you try to look into it at all, you get so confused that you can't figure out which one's the correct one. That's kind of the idea, right? Don't trust anybody. And I know some people might not like that, but I mean, it's a very dangerous world if you're just going to be blindly listening to people. Very, very dangerous time to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Not that it's never
What's
a good time to do it, but yeah.
the Aristotle quote, it's the mark of educated mind to be able to entertain an idea without accepting it. Read everything, research, mull it all around in your head, and come to your own individual conclusion. Like even if you fundamentally disagree with me after doing all that, I can at least respect your opinion because it's your opinion and it's not you parroting somebody else's.
Right. Exactly. So I'm just going to, and this is, I have this in chronological order. I'll just show some more pictures on screen since we're doing a live stream and all. And for those who are listening to the podcast after the fact, I will have this on FascistTube, Library, and BitChute. So if you want to see the video, you definitely can. Plenty of opportunities. So yeah, these are just people out in the street having a good time. They were painting that thing on the street. Here's at a soccer field at a local park. It looks like
the Black Lives Matter mural that they put on the road is actually like really beautiful. If there's a nice drone aerial shot going over it.
I think I might have that picture up.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is just people in the community hanging out, art, culture. It's. I mean, okay, let me, all right. I guess there's some other pictures here. All right, we'll move over to this one. So okay. These pictures are from, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the park here, the park has social distancing circles that were painted by the city. They did that here in San Francisco also. And what they did is they emptied out they tilled out the circle part, and that's what their gardens are. Is those social distancing circles that were put up by the government? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
I thought it was ironically hilarious.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, sorry, I'm flipping around here. Okay, there we go. All right, so this is, and I tried to find so I put up that post I mentioned. That's that initial post on Fascist Book, where, and I'll go ahead and mention this now as well, that I guess our kind of problems with our potential problems with this. Well, as I acknowledged in that initial and my only post on the subject, these people are predominantly socialists and communists. That's not a surprise. It's Seattle. It's a counterculture in Seattle. What else would you expect? So I obviously disagree with them vehemently when it comes to their position on private property. Some of them on private property. I don't know if all of them are kind of the radical leftist, I guess, variety of that. But yeah, their position on private property, economics, etc. But I see this as a few important things. One, it's a proof of concept. Number two, it's another case study to learn from. And three, I'm really just happy to see some shit happening. Of course, this could end badly, right? Like, the standoff in Waco at the Branch Davidian compound did not end well, right? It ended really bad for them and for freedom and all that. Some of these things, go badly. I mean, the last one, thankfully, the Malheur Wildlife Refuge and also the Bundy standoff, predominantly those people got off. Predominantly. So I mean, there are kind of successes at these things. Now I don't know if just not going to prison is a success. Like the Patriots weren't successful in having the federal government cede the land back to the state governments. So I don't really know. I don't really know if that can be considered a successful operation. I guess not going to prison might be considered a success. I'd say so, actually.
Well, I mean, the Virginia rally back in January wasn't a success. The Second Amendment rallies or the open rallies in Michigan where they stormed the state house, that wasn't technically a success either.
Right.
They didn't get what they wanted. Arizona, Colorado, all across the U.S., like, there's still quarantine and lockdown in most places.
Right.
So hard to call those a success.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And just flipping through pictures here. So this is the one I mentioned. Christina Beverlin is the account. I need everyone in Seattle to retweet the photo of this man. He just tried to start a fire at the abandoned precinct. Protesters put it out, and Chaz right in front of me, and I followed him and took this as he walked away. But there's no way he was acting alone. So, I mean, these people, like a lot of there are at least folks there who are peaceful and who are there for good reasons, I would say, right? There are just always provocateurs like that and such, or they might just be violent people. That's possible too.
Oh yeah, the AutoZone guy, right? In Minneapolis, agent provocateur, comes into a peaceful protest and starts smashing windows.
Right.
Guy walks into a peaceful occupation, tries to set something on fire, calmly walks away when it gets called out. I mean, if you truly believed in what you were doing, wouldn't you at least stand there and argue and try to fight instead of calmly walking away?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Just thought.
Okay. All right. So this is another video, and these are, like I said, that one is from, I guess, yesterday evening, and this was posted or I guess this was retweeted or this was reposted at 4 a.m. this morning, June 12th. So this is can't read that, but I think this is just a video of taking a stroll through the Chaz. So let's show you a video, because again, you can find these on Twitter, guys. You don't have to go to mainstream media. Like, you can find all this stuff for yourself, and you can avoid all the propaganda and twists and just go to the original source without bias. It's a great place. It's a great thing to do. But here we go. She's just walking around. And see,
What's
like,
up, guys?
oh. Let you guys listen for a moment.
Hanging out at the cap.
We'll just kind of flip around. It's a 42-minute video, so yeah, I'll post links and such.
It's so funny. Yeah, I was on the live stream the other day, and oh, let me get away from you while you're doing your thing. I was drinking a Fiji water while talking about like anti-capitalism, and someone called me out. I'm like, man, we're all tied up in this.
That's
bitch.
the George Floyd Memorial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Am I? Yeah, I'm right.
Okay, you want to go check out the park? I'm gonna go up to the house.
Okay, cool. I'll be around here.
All right.
Reoccupy.
So yeah, that's again the local park.
Yes, Black Lives Matter. Absolutely. You can't go like, more than 5 feet without.
See, like, warlording is a little hyperbole, right? I mean, look at what's going on here. This is like, I don't know. Again, like I said, we obviously don't agree with the economics, and then we'll kind of briefly discuss the demands. Yeah, there's plenty of things to disagree with. But again, a proof of concept. People are peaceful, generally speaking. There's restaurants open. There's food. I feel like I had to mention that again. That's not really a big accomplishment, but let's see. At least not for just a few days in. And I am live streaming, so this might not buffer the best. But yeah, people are. I think this is the police station. People are outside there. I guess I heard. I haven't looked much into this, but I did see some tweets today. I think there's the police chief or whatever was in there, taking inventory or some shit. I guess looking it over, because I think they might want to return, and there might even be some bloodshies there. I'm not sure. But yeah, I guess it's a developing situation, guys. But yeah, you get the point. Like, there's certainly, it would probably be a good idea to go through that, because there might be something that we missed just skipping through. But I mean, yeah, there we go. You got anything, Jason?
I looked up Chaz on Twitter, and one of the first tweets I see is from Amari, and he's people in the Chaz prepare for the day, picking up trash, porta potties being cleaned, and somebody donated a portable basketball hoop. So they're setting up a basketball hoop in the middle of the road.
Nice. Very nice. Oh, that was unintentional. So yeah, very good. So the next thing is the list of demands, and again, go watch Derek Brose's video. He goes through it. You can read it on your own too. But pull that up. I think I have that up. Yeah, the demands. Okay, the demands of the collective black voices at Free Capitol Hill to the government of Seattle, Washington. Justice system. Seattle Police Department and attached court system are beyond reform. We do not request reform. We demand abolition. So that first one, my main complaint with, I guess I don't like reformism, right? Like, I despise reformism. So, like, that's actually, like, not a bad, and again, like, no, I don't know what the alternative is going to be. I don't know what that's going to look like. But I think, especially with, like, what was it, 7 days of, like, riots and protests, like, violence, between police and protesters. Like, I don't know if that can be avoided. They should probably try to avoid that in the future. And if this is the way that's done, I I don't know. I do disagree because they want to abolish the police department and then I guess redistribute that wealth, not just like return the tax dollars to the taxpayers or the people who are stolen from. So that's a disagreement. But they are socialists, right?
Yeah, I'm not cool with that. No. Like the first part of that, boom, cool. Okay, stop right there.
Right.
Redistribute that somewhere else. No.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm cool with.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. So in the transitionary period between now and the dismantlement of the SPD, the Seattle Police Department, we demand that the use of armed force be banned entirely. No guns, no batons, no riot shields, no chemical weapons, especially against those exercising their First Amendment right as Americans to protest. Demand an end to the school-to-prison pipeline and the abolition of youth jails. I'm fine with. Yeah, I'm definitely fine with that. Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Take children from one prison to another. Yeah, no. Get them out and like that's slavery. So yeah, I'm definitely with that. Definitely with that. And then yeah, I mean it goes on, and there's the kind of less agreement as you go through them. Like demand reparations for victims of police brutality in a form to be determined. The reparations are going to come from tax dollars, right? Where else are they going to come from? So that's disappointing. But I guess on the positive, and I was going to mention this earlier, but like the couple possible positives out of this is that they're talking about qualified immunity. It might actually be stripped from the bludgies. Like that might be politically prudent for that to happen now, which I never thought would happen. And then also there's talk of no-knock raid being banned. So like both of those things would be net positives, right?
Yeah. Louisville City Council, they just banned no-knock raids. And then Rand Paul has submitted a bill that would ban them.
Right.
Also,
so I mean, like those
I don't have a lot of hope for. Yeah, I don't have a lot of hope for it getting through the Senate, but.
Right, but I mean, it's just like I would have never expected to see like with the worship of the military and the bludgies, like you'd never really expect to see stuff like that, right?
It's definitely a shift in the Overton window, or at least an expansion of the Overton window.
Right.
It's a good expansion, not the gun control expansion, but.
Right. Just want to mention welcome
Ian,
welcome Miriam, welcome Brent.
Yep. Brent, what's up, homie?
Welcome to the stream. We're just briefly summarizing the demands for the folks up there at the autonomous zone. So, welcome guys. Any questions or comments? Feel free to drop them in chat. We'll get back to this, and cause the next thing I think is going to be the thing that we can contribute, I guess, kind of uniquely to the conversation. So excited to get to that. But yeah, there's you can go here, media. It's on the media site. I'll put these links will all be in the show notes whenever I get them up on YouTube and FascistTube, and also the website voluntepodcast.com. So yeah, there's a lot of them. There's 30 demands. If all these have to be met, they might have to do this for a little while. And like I played in that intro. There's a reason for like it might have to be more permanent because I think a number of these things are going to have some problems with, and my computer's lagging. I'm still here. It's just okay. Browser. All right, cool. Let me see if there's anything else from the list of the demands. I don't think so. I think I'll leave that for you guys to discuss or to investigate.
Matthew asked, can a city or state ban the Fed from serving no-knock warrants? No knocks in an individual state. No, they can't ban them, but they can refuse to allow their resources, the state and city resources, to be part of the federal action.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I guess some folks might say that'd be like a 10th Amendment thing, like something the 10th Amendment Center might try to promote. I wouldn't, but some might. All right, let's see. Brent, hey guys, yeah, welcome. I think there was a comment I missed. This is a little laggy. I don't like this.
Brent says he knows Raz.
You know Raz Simone from the rap world? Okay, yeah. Very interesting.
Give us your quick take.
Yeah, what do you think?
What's your opinion on one?
I'll mention again because I mentioned at the beginning. But if you want to join, if you want to be a part of the D program, hit me up on Skype. Shane.Radliff is my username, and happy to have a little chat and get you on.
Yeah, Brent, jump on Skype. Come talk to us for a minute.
Yeah, there's not. I mean, this guy's got an Instagram and a Twitter, but and I do agree though. Derek mentioned something else in those videos. Raz's supporters when he was, I guess, probably beating that guy. His support. Okay, sweet. There we go. Holy shit, man. All right, we're about to officially go live. Maybe. Doing this again. Oh my god. Unreal. All right. Sorry, give us just one moment here, ladies and gentlemen. It's been one of those days it's been one of those days with technical issues. But hey, I thought we might have lost it, but Fascist didn't. It just ended the stream, so that's good. I can fix that later on. So give folks a moment here to join. Unreal, man. Where's my chat? Okay. Yep. It's working. So we'll go ahead and roll with it. Hopefully, folks will hop in there. Be good. So yes, actually get that open too. So yeah, the last I know the last thing I said was it was in regards to Raz that his people were covering up for his misdeeds. So that's not good. Definitely hoping to get Brent in here. Brent, who's also known as BloodedTheBrave, a very talented freedom rapper over from Indiana. Mm-hmm. So be great to get him on here to chat. I interviewed him on LUA Radio. Would have been, I guess, probably back in like April or May of 2018 maybe. So it's been some time. So it'll be nice to chat with him again if we can get him on here. I'll certainly do what I can on that one. Okay, I think we are about set. I think a couple people might have joined in. Thomas, welcome. Hopefully you got some more folks in there. I'll go ahead and get back to her though. So yeah, while we are waiting for Brent, we will go ahead and do the comparing and contrasting with Malheur Wildlife Refuge occupation back end of 2015, beginning of 2016 that I covered very in depth. With the Patriots, one of my colleagues at the time, Gary Hunt, who released an episode of the Vonnie podcast where he was the guest. Committees of Safety and Security teams was the topic. But yeah, he was actually out there. He was actually out there, and yeah, he was. He'd worked with those folks. So I was working with the Patriots at that time. I think we will get that open. And there was a very good tweet thread that we'll go over here. Okay, so as I said earlier on, this was the Malheur Wildlife Refuge occupation was basically the Patriot version of a TAS. And the way this transpired, it was the end of December. There were some peaceful protests in it was like a farm supply store parking lot in support of the Hammonds, who were ranchers, I think in Idaho or Montana. I don't remember the state. It's on the Liberty Under Attack. It's on the Liberty Under Attack Political Prisoners Archive.
They're in Oregon.
They're in Oregon. Okay. Yeah. Details.
Northeast Oregon.
Okay. So yeah, the Hammonds, they were, I guess they had a fire on their property, and it went over into BLM land. They got hammered with like a domestic terrorist charge, like some bullshit. The judge thought it was unfit, so the judge released them early. Well, it was a mandatory. It was a federal crime, so there's a mandatory minimum. So a new judge ordered them back to prison, and that's. Kind of infuriated people. I mean, Dwight and Steve. Dwight was the father. He was like 80 years old. Like he was probably going to die in prison. Not a good deal. So that was how this all started. Was in support of them. Well, Ammon Bundy and his folks led the people from that farm supply store over to Harney County, Oregon, the Malheur Wildlife Refuge Center. Which is basically like a BLM bird, like the bird sanctuary was allegedly what it was. So they went over there and took that over, and then they made it more about a broad issue of a public lands thing that the BLM was seizing up a lot of this land, which is definitely true out there in the West. It's a very large percentage. We've talked about it before. Of the land is so-called public lands. The idea was to get federal lands ceded back to the state governments. So that was the broader agenda. But go ahead.
Was it something like 58% of the western U.S. is under
It's
the
majority, I know
control of
that.
the federal government.
Yeah.
And like 92% of the state of Nevada is controlled by the federal government. So,
Yeah, it's
if
a majority. Yeah, for sure, it's a majority.
for a really good summary of the BLM and all that they're doing, go look up the Sagebrush Rebellion that took place in the 80s, and it was county sheriffs that were leading the charge against federal supremacy over state and county lands. Sagebrush Rebellion.
Yeah, welcome Henza, welcome back. Liberty Freeman, welcome to the stream. Happy you're here. This is take 2. We have been having technical difficulties all day or all morning. So yeah, certainly sorry about the inconveniences.
Shane's been having technical
I have been. Yes, that's correct.
For once, no difficulties on my side.
Right. So yeah, we're back.
It's not my turn.
And we're hoping to get Brent Elias, BloodedTheBrave, in here to give us his information that he knows. Apparently, he knows Raz, the so-called hyperbolic warlord. Again, we talked about that in part 1. So please do make sure to check that out after we wrap up here, and I will get it fixed in post production. But back to the Patriots. So yeah, they went out to the Malheur Wildlife Refuge Center, and they occupied it with firearms peacefully. There were mothers, there were children, it was just a kind of a nice, like, I guess you could say, like a right-wing commune where all the mothers were in the kitchen, feeding feeding for all the militia guys. Like it was a peaceful thing.
They would hate that you use the word commune.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, but
they would absolutely despise it.
Yeah, it's a good descriptor though, right? It was a temporary autonomous zone commune.
It's not wrong.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Just like the BLM, just like the Black Lives Matter folks and the Antifa wouldn't like this association either. But this is why we're doing this episode, guys, is to point out the ridiculousness that now these leftists, anarchists and the autonomous zone in Seattle, Washington, they're the domestic terrorists. But a few years ago, it was these constitutionalists that were domestic terrorists, and both sides want to use violence against the other. That's the major problem with the left-right paradigm is it's all about violence. So if it's your opponent, you just want to exact violence against your opponent. It's not a peaceful society.
We don't even have to go back to this. Like, we can just go to like 3 or 4 weeks ago at the Michigan State House to see that divide.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely true. That's definitely true. So, that lasted for I think it was almost like 3 weeks or a month. And then I guess most everyone, I know that there was a long series of events. I didn't sleep much for this like 4 or 5 day period. But there was a final standoff with final four. The final four is what we're calling them. And eventually everyone kind of surrendered. Lavoy Fennicum got killed in that ambush on that highway. And he was the only one. He was the only one to die. He was the only one to really get injured at all throughout this entire course of events. And they were on their way to meet with the sheriff and I think maybe a mayor of a different town. So they're going to meet with officials, and they ambushed him and killed him.
Yeah.
So that was kind of
the sheriff. Yep. The sheriff and the sheriff in the other county where they were heading, he was more friendly to their cause. Like he was more of a constitutional sheriff than the county that the Malheur Wildlife Refuge was at. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's kind of how that ended. And then soon after, Ammon Bundy, or the Bundys, got off a plane. They were arrested at the airport. And then Kyle and I kind of thought at that time, like, holy shit, like they thought, like we all kind of thought they won the standoff at their ranch. But now that they're arrested, they lost. Like they're done. Like they're going to go down. They've got all these people on like domestic terrorist charges. Like they're not going to get away with this, right? Like there's no way that the state's going to allow themselves to lose this battle. Well, they pretty much did. The only ones that really went to prison were the ones that took plea deals. So it was kind of that unprincipled thing that kind of got them screwed in the end. But like you even the judge up there was was, I guess. Was very disgusted with how things were handled. So it was that bad, how all of it transpired. And again, if you want all the gory details, you can go to libertyinteract.com. There's a political prisoners archives. You'll find links to Gary Hunt's articles on all of it. If you really, if you really want to, but we'll kind of cover the highlights here. So I kind of want to, so we're going to compare and contrast Malheur with, the autonomous zone in Oregon. So I guess the first thing, we kind of alluded to this earlier, is that those kind of those young leftist anarchists that are there. We've got to remember that as per for Vonu podcast listeners, you listen to Kyle's you've heard plenty of stuff on security culture. Well, a lot of these groups get infiltrated. And there's co-option of all of these things. So, like that certainly could be going on in Seattle, Washington with the anarchists there. Just as with this Patriot version of the Taz, they were infiltrated by sovereign citizens. And Shauna Cox filed that ridiculous lawsuit in court. For sued the state, like it was sued the federal government or maybe the state governments or maybe both of them for like $666 billion. Is what she tried to sue him for. So like they had their own issues there, right, with infiltration, not vetting. That it's a very, very complex thing, especially when you're talking about like homestead, like quote unquote homesteading 6 blocks of a city. Temporarily homesteading 6 blocks. So like that's I think that's worth keeping in mind for those folks in Seattle. And yeah, I guess that's that first comment. What do you got?
I was just like, of like the 25 or whatever it was that took over Malheur. Was it like 10 or 12 of them ended up being like federal informants on the others?
Oh, in Malheur?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gary Hunt, he wrote. It's a long series, like 20 article series called Informants, and so like the last the episode I released with Gary, that was the one that I somehow acquired the information that LUA was mentioned, and that my words are transcribed into an FBI investigatory document, and that episode. So. Yes. Checking back here in chat.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back, Matthew. Brent, welcome. If you want to hop on Skype, we'll talk about Raz. Certainly love to chat again. It's been a couple years, man. Should get you back on for a proper episode at some point. Anyway, but we can talk about that. So I'm trying to think where were we on the Malheur, we were comparing and contrasting. I don't remember the last point I left off on was we were talking about the infiltration and the co-option.
I think we're about to dive into that Twitter feed.
Correct. Yes, let's do that. I'll get that pulled up. Sorry, guys. It's been a chaotic morning. Matthew, at any point in time, such as at night, 1/3 of the residents were informants. Yeah. Oh, that's what we were talking about, the informant series. Yeah. There are like 20 parts of that. There are like 20 parts of that series. So yeah, there were a ton of informants. Like maybe even like I think Matthew said 1/3. So that's crazy. That is insane to think about, right? 1/3 of the people at Malheur were informants. So if obviously they probably don't change their tactics much. So maybe using the best predictor of future events is past events, at least in many circumstances. So maybe 1/3 of the people at the thing in Seattle are some sort of that sort of thing. I don't know. Just something to think about. Okay, so go ahead.
Every movement of any sort of any movement that has polarization that that can draw people in, that can create opportunity elsewhere, is going to get co-opted. I mean, you look at Occupy, you look at the Liberty movement, you look at like the libertarian movement. Like, oh my God, that is so infiltrated. But there's absolutely some of these people that are there are absolutely informants or state or federal agents, and it's the way it works. It's the way it works.
Right, because what do you think? What do you think? Like, and we're going to talk about the potential state response. But what do you think is more likely that, old Donnie is going to send in the military or something like that to quell these folks, like Waco #2. What's more likely that's going to happen, or they pay somebody like $1,000 to burn down the police station? What's more likely, guys? What's more likely? Just something to think about. Is all I'm saying. So now let's get to this.
They learned from Waco and Ruby Ridge. They're not doing that mass thing anymore.
Right.
There's too much negative publicity.
Yep. That's true. So this Twitter thread, this is it's Drew Holden is his name, and it's very good Twitter thread. It seems not all takeovers are created equally. Here's a thread about the ways outlets have talked about the anarchy of the Seattle autonomous zones versus the 2014 Bundy standoff in Oregon. And it's actually the 2016 standoff what they're talking about with Malheur. Well, I think they talked about both of them actually. So yes, first one. This is today: free food, free speech, and free of police inside Seattle's autonomous zone. This is the New York Times. President Trump challenged Seattle's mayor to take back your city after police vacated a precinct and protesters laid claim to the neighborhood around it. So now this is New York Times talking about the Bundy. The Bundy brothers defend army occupation of Oregon refuge. So that's kind of the way they're putting that. But we aren't done. Don't worry. We aren't done. Next, CNN, Communist News Network. Seattle police want to return to vacated precinct and what protesters call an autonomous zone. So that's, very calm title, not accusatory of anything. Now, seeing it, Communist News Network about the right wing. Armed group's leader in federal building. We will be here as long as it takes. Notice the emphasis.
I love the next one.
Yep. Okay. So, and this is The Stranger, an exceedingly chill day at the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. It's like a day at the community pool. Like, great. Stranger for Bundy. Ammon Bundy and Vanilla Ice's crew found not guilty of all charges in Oregon standoff. They actually put Vanilla Isis in the title. That Vanilla was purely
Isis,
purely to slight them. It was purely to make them look bad. So we're not done though. Don't worry. This is the Washington Post. This is not a game. Trump threatens to take back Seattle as protesters set up autonomous zone. Now, the Washington Post.
Like, oh my God, how dare the government help them?
Now, the Washington Post, a GOP state legislator helped plan an armed occupation in Oregon, investigators say, calling it domestic terrorism. Again, if you look back, we talked about we don't like to reinvent the wheel here, so I'm not going to go through all this again. But we did a series on temporary autonomous zones, and we also talk about it in our Building the Second Realm series. Well, what they're doing, both the Patriots and what the folks are doing there in the Seattle Autonomous Zone, this is the same strategy. Like it's the temporary autonomous. I guess the Taz and Paz theory. Anarchist strategy is more. More, I guess you could say, left wing, and of course the arms sort of thing that they were doing was more right wing. But it's the same exact strategy. Whenever you get past the name of it, it's the exact same thing: occupying a territory temporarily to make a point and to try to get justice of some sort. So it's the same strategy, and I know the left would hate that. And the right would hate that as well. But this is why the left-right is it's obviously such bullshit, which as a lot of you, especially longtime listeners to the Vonnie podcast, will know. But it's certainly worth reiterating. The next one is the week Seattle protesters briefly occupy City Hall, returned to movie night, an autonomous and cop-free enclave. They're just having a movie night in the streets. What fun. Now the other one, Republicans have a Clive and Bundy problem. Many conservatives, including the Week's Matt Lewis, warned against making a folk hero out of Clive and Bundy, Nevada rancher. So, we're not done. Don't worry. We've got, so this is the Seattle Times. Welcome to the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, where Seattle protesters gather without police. Clive and Bundy, again, Seattle Times, same newspaper. Clive and Bundy called lawless and violent to stay in jail. So, he didn't get bail because he was lawless and violent, this, 85-year-old man. very frail 85-year-old man is just, lawless and violent.
Yeah, I'm reading ahead of you here, and I just saw the NPR one, and I'm about to have like an aneurysm.
Okay, you want me to skip to that one or just read all of them?
Yeah, skip to that one. Skip to that one.
Okay.
The NPR.
NPR. That's Hill. I don't think that's it. No, that's New York Mag. Shit. Twitter, come on. Stop, Twitter. Come on, cooperate. Don't. Oh, it's gonna mess me up. Oh, that sucks. That is very unfortunate. Okay. In one moment, folks. Jesus Christ. Unreal. All right, cool. So Maddie says probably more like 3K for that. Operation Showtime accomplished its task. There's no reason for them to have a massive show of force again, such as Waco. They're using the tactic now of small units, small acts of aggravation. Yep. Well said. Yep, exactly.
So. Yeah, I'll read the NPR one.
Yeah, just read it. Yeah, I lost it.
Yeah, the new one says, "Go back to your bunker." Seattle mayor tells Trump and spat over protests. And then the Bundy one says, "Season 2 of Bundyville looks at the ecosystem of anti-government extremism."
Right.
Anti-government extremism.
Oh yeah, I had a field day with videos on that because these are constitutionalists. They aren't anti-government. I'm an anarchist.
No,
I'm anti-government.
not at all.
So this next one, I got it back up. I got it back up finally. So this is what
Okay.
the last thing I put up last night. And it was actually Ivan the Troll who retweeted it. His new handle's like Ivan_is_back.
Yeah,
if you want to follow him. But this is Casey Martin, who I think is a journalist. Just spoke with two people at Chaz entrances with AR-15s. They coordinate with medics and keep an eye on passing cars, people coming in, etc. They are not charging people fees to walk around. People say they feel safer with police gone and thank this man during my interview. And he's got a come and take it, a defense distributed patch on his jacket. So there you go. For those folks who are condemning this entire thing off a fake Photoshop tweet, we've got some allies there, folks. Certainly.
I wouldn't call him a boog boy, but he's definitely boog adjacent.
He's just vending person and property. And it's an open carry state, doing nothing illegal. Nothing illegal whatsoever. I don't think. I'm sure old Donnie would think differently, but
That M&P, that's
okay,
I don't know, technically not illegal. It's still an M&P.
I guess we'll read a couple more of these. ABC News: Trump fumes as protesters stake out festive zone in Seattle. ABC Key Oregon standoff figure sentenced to 3 years in prison. So I mean, yeah. Anyway, so there's a definitely a good thread there. Flip back over here on OBS. And then I guess the last thing I'll mention here, just to draw one more contrast, and what's kind of bullshit about this is Mayor Durkin, I think the Seattle mayor, defends the Chaz as patriotic. I saw a bunch of tweets with a bunch of news articles with that this morning. But there were 7 days of violent protest before this, right? Like 7 days of and it was obviously mostly instigated by the police, right? Mostly instigated by the police, by the bludgies. But she called it patriotic after the 7 days of violent protests and riots. So at Malheur, only one person was killed, and it was Avoy Finicum. So so if that's patriotic, then these were constitutionalists trying to restore the Constitution, like trying to, go back to state governments, like the state supremacy, I guess. So what's more patriotic, the actual Constitution, or I don't know. It's just bullshit. Again, it's just.
Well,
yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that the word patriotism is. It gets used so often in things that are not patriotic. It's as bad as the word racist or sexist or homophobic or
it's
terrorist
a useless word now.
It's absolutely it has lost credibility.
Like with
meaning.
if all you have to be to be a hero, if all you have to do is just scan items at the grocery store, like that word doesn't mean anything anymore. Like, no offense to those folks, like it's a needed market position. I'm just saying, like word has no meaning anymore.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're gonna play "There Goes My Hero" when the pizza delivery guy shows up. I mean, no.
So
I get it. I appreciate what they're doing. I appreciate the risk that they're taking.
mm-hmm.
But I mean, hero? No. Cops aren't heroes either.
No.
But no. I one more headline.
Sure,
One more
go
set
for
of
it.
headlines. It's from Salon. Which we know Salon. It's in defense of Capitol Hill autonomous zone, the noble history of a utopian idea. And then their Bundy one was behind the Western Land War, how a fringe ideology of anti-government cranks is becoming the GOP mainstream.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, to reiterate, I mean, it's a proof of concept. Like I mean, there was I know, and I was going to mention this with the Wikipedia page, but there was an attempt at the same thing in Portland, Oregon, on June 11th. So this is on the Wikipedia page. Protesters in Portland, Oregon, inspired by the zone, sought to establish their own autonomous zone area on June 10th, 2020. Protesters erected barbed wire fences and clashed with police, but abandoned their attempt by June 11th. So like the idea, it's almost like what we talked about this before, like Liberator pistol. It's not actually very useful in terms of self-defense or anything, but it puts the idea in people's heads that holy shit, I can 3D print a gun, like a firing gun. That's crazy. It's a paradigm shift.
The precedent.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what this sort of same thing is. And even if you do not like, and obviously I don't like the socialism and the communism. There's plenty that I disagree with with this, but this doesn't have to be the last iteration of this, right? Like there could be a propertarian kind of right-wing version of this, or even like a propertarian anarchist version of this at some point. Hypothetically speaking, in the future, I'm just saying like this is like a proof of concept. Just as the other temporary autonomous zones have been in the past, just as the other intentional communities, just like Sealand was for projects the Seasetting Institute is pursuing. Like these are precedents. Like I guess these are just case studies. Is kind of how I look at it, and we can learn from them for the future. To see how, I guess the pros, cons, and all that, and obviously it's still a developing situation. We and I guess we could go ahead and move on to this part, but kind of talking about the potential government response. As we've kind of already ruled out the one, like the Waco number 2 or number 3, maybe even by now number 4. I don't know, depending on what you want to count those events. Kind of subjective in that way, but what are the other possibilities then? That they kind of roll over on a few things, and they kind of roll over on a few things. I mean, maybe like we talked about the infiltration possibility, like maybe they just pay someone $1,000 to burn down the police, like some like spark some sort of violence. I mean, I don't know. There's plenty of possibilities like that. But what do you think?
What do I think about what
the government response, like because they can't let this go on.
Oh, the government response to this is, I think they're gonna wait it out. It won't last the end of the month. I'll bet money it won't last the end of the month, but it'll last another week and a half, 10 days, and the nature of the politics and the nature of the culture of the people that are there, they eat their own. We've seen this time and time again. They eat their own, and this will start to destroy itself as outside agitators show up, as people who aren't as in line with the ideologies show up, as people that have negative intentions show up. This will eat itself, and then it will devolve, and then that's the point in which the government will come in and they'll call it for security or for health or for safety or.
Oh no, that's shit. No. That's wave 2, man. We talked about it at the beginning of the last one. Wave 2 of the scamdemic is here. So that's the excuse. They were wearing masks, like they're worried about it. Like if there's a wave 2, then they might go home. Some people might go home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so many possibilities.
Like that's the other issue. Like as things start to devolve, the quote unquote good people, the true believers and some of those people will leave.
Right. Just like what happened with
And that will
Malheur.
create that will create a vacuum, and it will eat itself.
Yeah, and there
Unfortunately.
might be some holdouts for some holdouts for the last of it, but I mean the state's just going to wait it out, right? I mean they've got to, it's in their interest to wait rather than try to I guess spark up some violence.
It's 6 blocks in their own community. I mean,
yeah,
it's not the business district, you know. J.P. Morgan Chase isn't on the corner. Oh.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So, I don't know if Brent's still there. I sent you a message on Skype or on the account I had for you if you want to hop on here and chat. But if not, no worries. Certainly understand. We'll have to just get you back on at some point, regardless. So let me see if there's anything else that I was going to mention. Oh yeah, there was one other thing. Oh, this is big, Jason. You want to so regardless of what transpires with this entire with this autonomous zone, like even if it fizzles out and leads to nothing, there's one huge benefit. One huge benefit to this, and it's something that Jason found last night.
Yeah.
So Jason, I'm gonna turn it over to you, and I'm gonna pull it up on screen share. So tell us about the site.
In preparation for this, I was looking up other autonomous zones that had been created over time, and something came up like this Black Bear Ranch here in California, and I was like, oh hey, what's that? So I had to Google it, and a link came up on this website, ic.org, intentional communities, and like holy crap, like how we didn't know about this before.
Yep.
Is a little shocking. But yeah, it's literally a list of intentional communities that are either in existence or are trying to be created, literally all across the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like in pre-show when you and I were talking, I looked up like Austin, Texas, where you were at for a while tent camping, and there's like 25 in the Austin, Texas area, and like most of those like allowed visitors, and a lot of these are like eco villages and communes and like kind of like rental room situations in exchange for labor. It's just a fantastic resource, and if you expand the map, if you expand the map outwards, like it's literally it's worldwide. That's on this website.
Oh yeah, there we go.
And
this is what I want to find. The state country list.
Yeah.
So communities by country, 761 in the United States. For example, here in the communist state of Illinois, there's 13. Jason, in California, there's 104. 104 listed. I mean, they're all over the place. Indiana has 8, Iowa has 7, Massachusetts 28. I mean, these are all over the place. Like I was telling Jason last night, I was like, and I was like, you understand what this means, right? Like back whenever I was tent camping in Austin, and I was kind of trying to, and I kind of that's a very tumultuous living situation for a while when I had to find a place to live or figure out something within a few weeks. Like there were places in Austin I could have gone and stayed for a couple of days for free, or there's intentional communities there, and like you go to these places and you work, and like it's you barter, you might work on the farm or something like that. It's really, really incredible. Now I will, so this is the one, Black Bear Ranch. Here's an example of one of these such intentional communities. So that's a picture. They've got some looks like donkeys or goats up here front. There's a really nice cabin there. So like a status established 4+ adults, 2+ years. 1969 was started planning. Open to new members, visitors accepted. So the mission statement: learning to understand the world and each other by taking part in an isolated microcosmic experiment. Start striving to live in harmony with the land, the people, and the universe. To steward the land, live in harmony with the seasons, and keep the old world way alive. Over the mountain and through the woods to the permanent autonomous zone, calling all roof vixen, tender split, and fungus pluckers. We are deep in the wilderness, surrounded by national forest land, sweet singing rivers, majestic meadows, and shady brooks. Black Bear Ranch is a historic abandoned mining ghost town turned hippie commune. Open doors since 1968, one of the last truly free places in the United States. Visitors welcome any time without announcements. We have a 2-day, 2-week, 2-month visitor policy. Anyone who would like to stay longer than 2 weeks should be invited to stay by the residents, currently calling Black Bear home. We are autodidactic, but less stuffy than most communities. Learn anarcho-feminism, sustainable permaculture, wood stoves, and candlelit cabin space deep in the misty mountains, blanketed in fur, anti-capitalista. So they're anti-capitalist, but no internet or cell service, solar and hydroelectric. They're into organic gardening, but they aren't like that. They have ducks, goats, and chickens, so they aren't like anti, like meat, right? Like, so that's good. It's a good thing. Like, you go out there and you probably just eat some raw duck eggs.
Yeah, and they're in the heart of the Trinity Alps also. So this is very much where Rayo was.
Yeah.
Oh.
Looking here. But it let's see. Like, so there's this is just one example. Like, it's crazy. And there's a lot of other ones. Now, I did notice most of the ones in Illinois, here in the common state of Illinois, were like Chicago, like co-housing. But there's a lot of options. I mean, if it's worth looking into, and like I was saying, for like a nomad, like you could plan like your travels around these intentional communities, and it would not be hard at all. So that's incredible, absolutely incredible. Figured we'd share that with you guys, and that was a result of this research into this autonomous zone, Capitol Hill autonomous zone. So regardless of what happens there, this is a positive that we can be very happy about. So looks like Brent is making a test call, and all right, right on. We'll get him on here, and we'll talk about. We'll add him to the call. Search. One moment, folks. All right, and here in chat. Matty P, by the way, considering the current situation in question, I've never really asked considering the plan for restoration. How do we be inclusive, considering what Gary's written about 14th Amendment and we the people, but who are we? Oh, awesome. Hey, man. Hey, Brent, you there?
Hey. Yeah, how are you guys?
Hey, doing well. Welcome.
Can you see me?
Brent, what is up, homie?
Not much. Can you guys see me and hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm picking you up.
Perfect. Yep.
Awesome.
Shane's camera's off to help with the stream feed. So
mine goes through OBS, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, it goes through OBS. So anyway,
I just started using OBS.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep. Same here.
Awesome.
Same here. It was a little daunting the first time I looked at it, so I didn't use it for like 2 years. But once I started using it, it's pretty easy. Yeah, it's pretty easy, and you can really up your production value.
Because it's awesome. I have a show that I've been working on. I started it last week. I went live like 5 nights and started messing with OBS, but I'm gonna launch it here in like a week or two with my buddies. But you guys are doing great. It's a good broadcast. I was happy to see you were comparing this to Lavoy Finnegan and the Bundy Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That was a great breakdown. It's very true.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that comment. Thanks for coming on. I was mentioning before that I interviewed you on Liberty Attack Radio. I think it was like April or May of 2018. It was a while ago. So it's good to be talking with you again. Good to have you on. I guess for the listeners who may not be familiar with you, do you want to tell them a little about your music and what you've been doing for a really long time now?
I'm BloodedTheBrave. I am I'm Truth Music. And I'm down with liberty and freedom in all aspects and formats that include self-ownership and the non-aggression principle. But I rap about all that in all my music and have tons of music on all streaming platforms under Kyle Reese or BloodedTheBrave. That's me.
Very good, yeah, and definitely do go check out his music. It's very really great stuff, and he's been doing it for a long time. Like I remember, I was telling you during our interview that I remember like back in I was like 17 or 18, and this was like 9/11 Loose Change documentary time. I remember coming across one of your songs like Against the Federal Reserve. Like I remember that very distinctly, and I didn't come across you again until like 8 years later, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's still doing this. Awesome. So
that's awesome.
You've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, it's all I've ever done, and it's since like 1999 when I wasn't gonna rap about stuff I didn't know about. You know what I mean? So it was funny because with the Black Lives Matter thing going on, I just made a comment on someone's post about Malcolm X because Eric July just put out a video breaking down the difference between Malcolm and Martin. And everybody has an awakening moment, but I was a rebel. I was a good kid, but in like 6th grade, my mom and dad say something changed, and it was probably puberty. But in 8th grade, I picked up Malcolm X's autobiography, and I read it and did a book report on it. And that book really helped me not be getting into trouble anymore, and helped me realize I got to start learning about freedom and rebellion. And so I will always I always got love for the struggle, anyone going through the struggle. So I'm completely 100% down against oppression. So of course I feel the plight of what everyone's really mad about, but they're missing the point, as most of us do, because they're brainwashed as we were, and they think that government is their answer when it is really the cause of the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and as I said earlier, the
absolutely.
deception is so strong right now too. So like it's really difficult to break hold of, especially the left-right paradigm, especially with all of the division going on. But go ahead, Jason.
I was just gonna say that a lot of what's going on right now, both on both sides, is a matter of people's preconceived notions, and just amplified, just seriously amplified. Like there's so much hate on both sides being shot at the other side, that they don't even see that like they have the same message. They just have different ways of going about it.
Yep. Very true. That's exactly it. You nailed it.
Yeah. Yep. Yep, exactly. So, Brent, do you want to? You mentioned in chat that we were talking about Raz, the hyperbolic warlord there, and the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. You know a little about him. Do you want to fill us in?
Yeah, man, it's crazy because my buddies, I woke up one morning and we're in a group text, and they're like, a warlord has taken over Seattle by the name of Raz, and I was like, hold on, is this Raz Simone, the guy I told you guys all about 5-10 years ago when I was showing you his music? And my buddy Scribe, who's half of my partner in my group Enemy of the State, he's like, it is him. And I was like, dude, none of these big, I mean, I've met a lot of big rappers, because I was at shows, but I never really had much of a connection with any of them except a handful that are they should be big. And they're not. And there's a lot in my city, my friends like that. Raz is one of those dudes. He is dope enough to be like, very famous. But he is pretty famous in Seattle. He's pretty, but then, okay, so I've talked to him a couple times because he's like, he saw that I really understood what he was doing with his music. And his music hit me because if you go back like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, he had great YouTube cinematic presence. And the lyrics were not just the same dumbed down trash. I could tell that there was some rebellion to him. So it is crazy for me to hear this story because I'm like, oh my God, he's taking it there. I saw him speaking out live when they were doing the protest. And I listened to him and I thought this isn't going to be good because he was already saying some statist stuff in his speech. And I was like, man, don't do it. But he's gone down. Now, I don't know. Do you guys know no one knows anything about him, I guess, but someone maybe like me in the rap world, like I'm a fan first of anything I'm into. So I'm a fan of you guys. I'm a fan of Liberty, hip hop, So I studied.
I looked him up because of this.
Okay, cool.
And he has some skills.
He does, but like, if you go back to some of his older songs, they're really kind of like mine, where heartfelt, passionate stuff. And so I was a big fan, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna blow you up. We're gonna do a song together. Like, I'm riding with you. And so he has a lot of fans like that, genuine fans like I do. But the last couple of years, he's had a backing of some sort. He's got money. And he doesn't have the sale. I don't even know if I don't want to be saying that because he's killing it. But you figure if you're making that much money, like a Freddie Gibbs or someone, people would know you and you're touring the world. But he's done some tours. He's done some stuff. But anyways, okay, so here's how he got famous. First time, before he blew up, he was a rapper in Seattle. something happened where he flew to New York with a gun, and it would kind of be like us as Liberty folks, we carry a gun on us. And he forgot legitimately, he didn't have it. You know, you're used to having one on your person. It's no big deal. So he lands in New York and he got in big trouble for it. This is like maybe 08, 2012 stuff. I don't know. But he got in big trouble for it, almost lost his child over it, all this stuff. So he comes back to Seattle. He's almost like an outlaw. And then that's when his music started really blowing up. There's a backstory, and that's the backstory to how he was first famous. Was that it was in the papers and stuff. But this is crazy what they're doing there. You know, I mean, let them live. Go ahead and do it. Like what you guys are talking about with the Bundy Ranch or Waco or whoever wants to succeed. Go ahead and do it. But you might want to understand a little bit about property rights and freedom before you start doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 2013, he was arrested under the SAFE Act.
Okay, there it is. Yeah. Yep, the gun stuff. That was probably it. Yeah. Yeah, he's got my favorite song of his is Hometown. It's called Hometown. And he's got one called about Tupac and Macklemore. Remember Macklemore, the white rapper who blew up out of Seattle with the thrift store song? Well, I think he felt some kind of way about that because he was the Seattle rapper, and here comes Macklemore out of nowhere, a white dude, you know, taking the culture. But yeah, I've talked to him a couple of times. The funniest thing is if I probably hit him up, I could probably go in there and like talk to him. And I told my buddies this, and they were like, I don't think you want to do that. And I'm like, you guys know me. I'm all about that shit. Like, I want to go in there and tell him, because every time I've talked to him, he hasn't been a maniac, uppity, you know, rude dude. So he would probably listen to me talk about the non-aggression principle, which is crazy to think, but he might bend it one way or the other. But the thing about what we're into and this freedom is it's natural base. This is like the real anarchy is true freedom for everybody. So you can't really denounce it because we walk in the light of truth, because we're being consistent. We're not lying to ourselves. This is the only way freedom will work, is if we own ourselves.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Carl Hess says all anarchists are voluntarists. He says that in Anarchism Without Hyphens. So if you believe in anarchy, you have to allow for things like this to exist because these people are voluntarily doing this. Right? I mean, they didn't go in there gun shooting. They don't have hostages.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I love it. It's true. I just wish they would, you know, you already know what's in there, which is they think they can steal from other people, which is the communist aspect.
Yeah, they're anti-capitalist. They don't believe in private property.
Right. Yeah, you find out the hard way you can't do that.
But they are, and we should
denouncing this. Sorry, a lot of the same people denouncing this were last week cheering when the police station was on fire in Minneapolis.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, and we need to emphasize too, like the age. And I'm not like this isn't like you can be young and really understand things, but you can also be young and not understand things very well because you haven't had as many life experiences as other people. It's nothing against age. Like I'm young and constantly learning shit too. So like it's not a slight against age. But I mean, you look at the ages of some of these individuals. Like the main account, Anarcha, the one that I was showing earlier. She's 18 years old, I think, and
Dang.
Yeah, she was talking like she has really bad mental health issues and stuff too. Like she was posting about it.
Aww.
So there's like it's I mean, so yeah, there's that to consider as well. Like it's not going to be a perfect it's not going to be a perfect operation. And even when the boomers are doing this, back in 2016, again, a third of them were informants. So like. It's a really, really hard thing to do.
At the Bundy Ranch, right? At the Bundy Ranch.
At Malheur.
Not the ranch at Malheur. Yeah.
Malheur and Huntington, Oregon.
They were informants. Now, hey, first of all, I'm giving you guys major props for looking at it like this, because a lot of other people are just mocking and laughing at them. And I get it. It's easy to laugh at people. But you know what? I love that you guys are actually saying, hey, let people live and secede if they want. And like you said, they're not holding people hostage. So major props to you guys for being voluntarists and anarchists and having this conversation in this light. Like, good for you guys. It's awesome.
Well, yeah, most
that people, and I said this.
Are
Yes.
So go ahead, Shane.
I said this earlier, but like with that one Photoshop tweet that was going around where people are like, oh look, the Marxist utopians already ran out of food within 24 hours. It was stolen by the homeless. That was a fake Photoshop tweet, and that was like, there are so many anarchists, libertarians, and people that should be like somewhat maybe not supportive, but at least like. At least somewhat interested,
Understanding.
Somewhat understanding. But they're like they denounced this entire thing just based off of that. But there's still those same sort of folks with the Bundys, like, oh, it's the status public lands thing. It's like, yes, it is, but you understand, like, this, like, these are things like if these are very important, points in history, like these standoffs between the people and the state. These are very, very important things, and they're worth paying attention to. They're worth talking about, and it's really frustrating to see how disingenuous people are in general, and it's mostly perpetrated from the left-right paradigm, as they've been harping on so much today. It's just really, really, really unfortunate, and hopefully that message in this podcast will get out, and hopefully the podcast, if it reaches more people, hopefully it will as well, because I don't know, like it's. We talked about pretty at length today about, we disagree with these folks on numerous things, but again, like this is, we talked about temporary autonomous zones and permanent autonomous zones on this podcast. Like, this is a legitimate anarchist strategy, so at the very least we should be interested in it just as a case study. So yeah, I'll stop ranting there. I'll turn it over to you guys if you have anything.
Yeah,
it's true.
Absolutely. As we've talked about before, like the whole left-right anarchist paradigm thing is just an extension of statism, right? You just want to force economics on each other instead of the state on each other. But there's really no difference there. But as far as a case study, this sets a huge precedent. Like as we talked about before, like they've already tried this again in Portland, right? This is going to happen next time. And there will be a next time, because the government and the police aren't going to change. So there will be a next time. So next time this happens, they're going to try this again. Maybe not in Seattle. Maybe it's in Houston. Maybe it's in Chicago. New York, I don't think so, because Cuomo's a psycho. But they're going to try this elsewhere. Oakland, I can absolutely see Oakland trying it. Berkeley, LA, absolutely.
Nashville started something.
Memphis, yeah.
Yeah, today.
I see that happening. And that's it sets a precedent. But I think another aspect that people aren't really talking about is it takes a huge set of stones to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I mean, back in January
I also think again, like the young thing, I don't think they realize that this is like insurrection. So there might be a little naivety to it too as well. I'm not sure. But
yeah,
it's possible. It's a big deal. It's a really big deal. Yeah.
The founding fathers were insurrectionists also.
Boom. That's right.
Yep.
Just saying. But
I'm telling you, look, think about it, guys. Who else has looked at it like this? I mean, I'm sharing the hell out of this video because this is great. Nobody is looking at it like this. They're all like, when's the National Guard coming in? How about we all stick with our message of being left alone? Mm-hmm. Some of us aren't going to make it. Some of us, but these folks are, if they want to be left alone, let them be. Let them be. Let them have their own thing. Who knows? Maybe they reach out and they need food from a dude, like us. And we're like, oh, okay, I'll hook you up with some food.
Well, hey,
and I come in there and trade something, and I teach them about property and a trade value and economics. Like, it could happen.
Right, and there's that guy we showed a picture of him. He was the guy with the AR at the gate. He had to come and take a defense distributed patch on. Like, there's
right.
So like, there's opportunities. There's certainly opportunities. And it's just like with the 2016 election, 2016 selection. There were a lot of frustrated leftists. So they wanted to cancel their voter registration. I got emails, multiple emails a week of people wanting my assistance in helping them cancel it. So like, I will spend as much time with I'll respond to every single email to help people cancel their voter registration. And that's not a huge step, but like, it's one step to get people out of politics. So like, if you can convince, if you can convince folks to do that, like if there could be a voluntarist there, apolitical voluntarist, or even like a mutualist type leftist, that would even work too, because they still believe in private property. There's a lot of opportunities here. There really are, and I don't think people are really seeing it that way.
Yeah. No, they're not. You're right, man. That's why I think the first thing that hit me was I should go talk to this dude. And my buddies are like, they're crazy commies. And I'm like, okay, who isn't, bro? I talk to statists all the time. I have friends at work that are commies. Like, it gets frustrating, but I talk to them because I want them to learn. And, I mean, it's hard. I will admit, especially during a police brutality protest when here I am been rapping about police brutality and have some of the hardest music videos about cops. And I feel like everyone should be lined up to talk to me about a possible solution, and they're not. So I get that it's frustrating. I understand that. But first of all, feel their pain and know that they're mad. So that's good.
Yeah, that's something that has absolutely been lost in reference to the George Floyd murder and the aftermath and this and really has been for a long time lost, and that is humanity. Right? We don't people that are stuck in this left-right paradigm, people that argue on social, people that are calling for a fucking Waco style siege on this 6 blocks. Like, you motherfuckers want FBI HRT out there shooting unarmed women?
Yeah.
Right? Really think about that reference for a second and shut the fuck up. But the humanity, like they don't see these people as humans. Like,
It's true.
It's one of the things that I hate a lot about the ANCAP community is the whole communists aren't people, throw communists from a helicopter, blah blah. Like, motherfuckers, they're humans just like you.
Yeah, and they don't know any better, and we didn't know any better. Yeah.
Like, you were a statist at one point too. And there's also a point in time you were learning not to shit yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So people learn and they grow. And everybody learns and grows. Like, you there are 7 billion people on this planet. No 2 people think the same. Ever. Period. It won't happen because we all have different experiences, different educations. We all have different thought patterns. No 2 people will ever think the same. If you ostracize or make enemies of everybody you disagree with, you're going to be a lone motherfucker.
Speak it. You're on fire. You're on fire, my man.
It angers me. I get really frustrated with the ANCAP community, and it's one of the things Shane and I talked about before when we interviewed Carl and Jala, van nomads down in Australia. They don't believe in private property, right? Or they don't believe in owning land. They're socialists to a degree. And Shane and I, after that, we both absolutely adamantly agreed that we would rather have this guy as a neighbor than a lot of ANCAPs because he was a good person.
There you go.
Even though we disagreed economically, he was a good person, and you can talk to a good person and come to an agreement with a good person, even if you disagree.
Yep.
I like it, man. It's real. It's so true. People forget it. They forget it.
Oh.
Humanity. I rap about that. Jason. It's in all my music.
Absolutely.
I'm always rapping about that. Exactly what you just said.
And I share everything I come across too.
I know. I love you, man. I love you.
Very good, very good. So, looking back here in chat. Let's see, this was 22 minutes ago. I guess a little behind. Matty P. A way I've been trying to sell it is that the government we see currently was founded of, by, and for the people, mainly white landowners, of 1776. And we need to dissolve that government and follow in their footsteps and create a government of, by, and for the people of 2020, because we lived with the great experiment for 220 plus years. So now it's time we take a look back at the whole Constitution and restore it, much like a car guy could pull a Shelby Mustang out of a U-Pull it and restore it back to a condition where a collector would pay an astronomical amount of money compared to the cost of restoration. Yeah, that's a great point. It's a great point, and I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot too, and I even have I talk about this in my upcoming fiction book too. That's almost finished. But I mean, you look at how tyrannical things are now, like how far gone freedom is, and how dire of a situation it is. A lot of this stuff is just being pushed through now. Like, this is the 2020 is going to be like, the world's going to look 100% different than what it did, in 2019. And I don't think I'm being hyperbolic about that. That's kind of what I'm seeing, coming out. That seems to be the case. But yeah, with things this tyrannical, like I've been talking about committees of safety and militias and constitutionalist sort of 1776 stuff, because that's super radical. Like that, like there's obviously still some issues with it, but like like the minarchism and the Benjamin Tucker's four monopolies, which are constitutional. I mean, yeah, there's some problems, but like at the same time, like I love the spirit of like locally organizing and like in committees. All of this shit is voluntary too. That's all that matters. Like whatever name you put on it, it doesn't matter what you call it. If it's a committee of safety or if it's a freedom cell, I don't give a shit what you call it. Organize with people in your area. If you want it to be from a constitutional ideology rather than an anarchist ideology, I don't care. But act and organize locally. That's the idea. So
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of mutual assistance groups. I love the idea. Mutual aid, mutual assistance, they get confused a little bit, but like a mutual assistance group, it's an enhanced neighborhood watch, right? You watch each other's back, you take care of each other, you help each other, you trade with each other. That's all that you really need. Like you don't need a government to look over you to say, oh yeah, your grass is too long, or you didn't get a permit to build that deck on your house. Fuck you, my neighbors help me, they don't care.
yeah, and the way that Gary put it,
Yeah.
it's exactly right. Like, we're smart enough to handle this shit on our own. We don't need an outside government to do this. Like we're smart enough to do this locally and handle these local issues. And it's like, yeah, that's the main. I'd say it's the main disadvantage of public schools. It just strips all I guess confidence out of people and their ability. It's really really sad, and then as I've talked about in other podcasts, it leads to this very highly compartmentalized society where no one can check up on each other's work because no one knows what the other one's doing. So then it's very easy to pull, and I'll go ahead and just go on the record of this, pull medical scams like this because no one really understands it.
Have you guys been using the defund the police opportunity that's been laid upon our laps? Defund the state.
Right.
I've seen a lot of people have those two hashtags right next to each other on Twitter and
Yes.
other places.
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
See, like you said earlier, it's an opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's an opportunity to educate and enlighten and uplift people. Like, okay, all right, you're mad. Okay, you want to defund the police? Okay, and we walk them there. I mean, I get a lot of people who get upset with the contradictory views of people who believe in government, but it's a chance to educate people and help them understand.
Yeah. Yeah, Rahm Emanuel's famous line, "Never let a crisis go to waste."
Right.
Ooh,
That works two ways,
use
yo.
it against them, my man.
It works.
Yes.
It works both ways. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep. And I want to finish.
Defund the police. Hey, look.
There was
check out this anarchism, voluntarism.
I want to finish. I
please.
didn't finish Matthew's comment here. I think I got distracted and we got onto a different subject, which is great. But let me see here. Okay, so this is, by the way, considering the current situation and a question I've never really asked, considering the plan for restoration, how do we be inclusive? Considering what Gary's written about 14th Amendment and we the people, but who are we? As well as some of Gary's racist undertones, where he's taking a strict adherence to words and intent of the founders. I just wanted your opinion, not trying to bait you to trash Gary in his work. I don't know, like I released that episode with the committees of safety where there's that anti-Muslim rhetoric, which was very common around 2016. I made a comment in the intro, like, it's shitty, but like you take kind of the good with the bad. Like it's I disregard that, but I'm happy that he's talking about committees of safety. And like there's like you kind of you don't really, I guess you don't really look past it, but you kind of overlook it to get to the good stuff, to get to the relevant stuff. So. I mean, I haven't talked to Gary in a long time. I appreciate after the 2016 election, where it seems like all the patriots kind of got back into politics, at least to a certain degree. Like I appreciate a lot of his work before that. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore. So Matthew's next comment. Let me see. I think I read that one. Yeah, I read that one already. He says, I'm a constitutionalist loosely who's found himself in a state of nature due to past actions by the government dating back too long before I was born. Yeah, state of nature, I totally respect that. Totally respect that. Totally respect that position. Looks like we got Thomas. Welcome, Brandon. Welcome. Matthew, another final comment for now. I guess I've co-opted the did a fund the police line by sharing Roger Roose's RCOP's constitutional and production of security. Very good, yeah. And for the listeners, there's an audiobook for Gustave de Molinare's production of Security on the Liberty Under Attack YouTube channel. That's a great one to share around now. And Arcop's Constitutional by Roger Roots. It's a really good academic white paper. And there's a white paper, and then I did the audiobook for that. That's available in the audiobook playlist on the Liberty Under Attack channel. So if you want to share those around, great. You can also find them on
Check
BitChute as
those
well.
out. Check those out.
Thank you very much for those comments, Matthew. I don't really have anything else to cover on this broadcast. Happy to take other questions or comments in chat. And I guess, did you guys have anything else you want to talk about while you're here?
No,
What you got?
I didn't really have anything. I had I looked into Erwin Strauss's How to Start Your Own Country.
yeah.
I looked into that last night and tried to find a quote or two. This autonomous zone, it's weird. It's really weird in the way it's set up. Like they want to be autonomous, but then they want to force the government to do this and that and this and that, and it's not autonomous then if it's reliant on it's. Yeah, but
What's the most simple solution? Walk away.
yeah,
They got walk away. They got to walk away from the state.
yes, and that was actually one of the quotes that I found, and it's the tendency is to think of the government of the country in which you live as your government. If its officials do something which you disapprove, you feel responsible for it. If they do something of which you approve, you take pride in it. If you have some ideas on how things should be done, you write to your representatives or vote accordingly at your next election. But a moment's reflection will dispel the illusion that you have any significant control over the actions of your government. Unless you are in a key position of influence, you have no more say in the affairs of your government, practically speaking, than you do in the affairs of any other government. You are responsible for the future of yourself and those you choose to take responsibility for, your family, your employees, etc. No one else can relieve you of that responsibility, nor can anyone hold you responsible for the actions or welfare of anyone else. Naturally, the government in which the established country from which you are seceding would like you to think of yourself as belonging to them, but this is an intellectual trap you should be well out of.
Bravo. That was nice.
So that's Erwin Strauss's How to Start Your Own Country. He wrote that in what was that?
1969, I think.
1969. So.
Yep.
And
It's a good read.
same-
It's a good read. It's he. I guess I call him the world's foremost expert on libertarian countries. Yeah, in that book, he covers a lot of case studies, and there are a lot of case studies of micronations that you wouldn't have ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of case studies, and he also
That's
talks
awesome.
about there's a lot of strategies for building libertarian countries. Like the Seasetting Institute wants to work with what country is it? They want to work with governments to set up special economic zones. Well, he talks about some potential downsides with that, and about things that have happened in the past too, where the government of the Bahamas, they sign a 99-year lease, but once they get once the property is valuable, they just seize it. So governments they don't keep uphold their contracts. So there's another project, the Free Society Foundation, that Roger Ver that Roger Ver is a part of, and they want to they have I think they had $100 million in Bitcoin in 2016. When they were trying to buy a piece of land from a country, and Erwin Strauss talks about that too, where there's only so much land on Earth, right? It's a scarce resource. So governments they want to hold on to the land they have, so they'll set up these 99-year leases. Well, if you're a new libertarian country, are you going to have a military to defend yourself? No. So the government they have no incentive to give you the land. They have every incentive to take the Bitcoin and the land because you have no way to defend yourself.
Well, yeah,
so he talks about all those things. There's a lot of there's a lot to consider.
Yeah, there was one we talked about on Vanu where they took over this abandoned island or this empty island, and the king of some small island country came out with a gunship and chased them all off.
Yeah,
it was just an abandoned island
the king of
in the middle
Tonga.
nowhere.
Yeah, the king of Tonga, I think was the title in the country, small island country. So yeah, there are a lot of case
That's
studies.
awesome. I mean, so I've been getting a lot of people with everything that's going on have been looking to me in real life and asking me, of course, you guys know everything we've been saying is starting to happen. So one thing I've been telling them to do is just go on Netflix and watch Waco.
That is such a good documentary.
But what do you guys think about like what's going on now in Seattle? What we were talking about, again, just wanting to be left alone. And you guys were talking about the Bundy Ranch. I mean, is that what was going on in Waco? They just wanted to be left alone. Like,
Okay.
we're gonna live here.
Yeah, Waco is a different situation than both Mauer and this Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. Both
Okay.
the Capitol Hill and the Autonomous Zone and Mauer Wildlife Refuge, they were both occupations in
Okay.
which they were trying to influence government.
Oh, okay. Yes, you're right. Very,
Right.
very.
So Waco was just a group of people that wanted to be left alone.
Right.
And the government wanted to make an example of people that were allegedly, not convicted, allegedly modifying firearms to shoot full auto.
Yeah. Dang.
And it was literally called Operation Sideshow, and they called the media before the raid so that the media could videotape it.
Because they wanted to teach the whole country.
Yes.
This is what will happen. We will come in
Yes.
your house. That's what I'm saying about when people are talking about the police state right now, okay? On Twitter, I've been going off when I have time and telling people, okay, you're mad now? Well, first of all, it's militarized, and it's been becoming militarized, and you didn't give a shit. Second of all, are you not familiar at all with how cops are even showing up? Because most of the times they show up, they shouldn't even be there because there's no victim. There's no victim. There's no crime. So start having a problem with the law, like the state, who's the order followers will do whatever they're told. But there's so many laws that the cops are literally everywhere, no matter what you do.
Yeah, what is it?
Right.
What is it? The average person commits 3 felonies a day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? Is it that talk? I think it's actually more than 3 now, but yeah. I mean, there's nobody. It's literally impossible in this country to go through a 24-hour period without breaking the law. So
Yeah, and just think about, and I'll go ahead and plug the propaganda report with Monica Perez and Brad Binkley, but they talk about they talk quite a bit about I suppose with the police, it kind of seems like they want to kind of automate. They kind of want to lead things towards automation and drones. So like I don't know, like it's we'll have to see what do you guys think as far as what do you think the future looks like with policing? Do you know, like I mean there's obviously we talked about the qualified immunity possibly ending and the no-knock rates possibly ending, and I think they did in Louisville, Kentucky, as we were talking about. Like there are a couple positives from that, but obviously like the state. The state doesn't like to lose much. So I guess if you guys had like, do you think this is a step towards like UN peacekeepers, or I mean, what do you think is what's your kind of I guess vision of what the police might look like in the future, Brent?
My vision is, first of all, I forgot to mention a very important family who faced the same thing as everybody in Seattle, the Ed and Elaine Brown. I'm an idiot for not even mentioning them. I'm talking about Waco, but they wanted to be left alone and not pay their income tax. And they were an older couple, a dentist, and I mean, he made his stand. So where is all the people who were mad about Waco and the Browns? Where are all these people at when it comes to what you guys were mentioning with Seattle? I'm so happy that you guys brought that up, because it is hugely important, because these events have happened before, and people we stood up for and went and tried to help against the state taking over their land and wanting to be left alone. I mean,
that's it's infuriating to me to see people complaining about George Floyd that have "We Are Duncan" limp circles on their profile pictures.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. Be consistent again, But yeah, what you said about the police, I don't think that anything will change except the police will get worse, because you saw that press conference with the cops where he held up the badge and he was all mad. Why don't you treat us with some respect? That's what's gonna happen.
I laughed so hard watching that.
As long as everybody enables the state to exist, police will not be able to change because they only investigate themselves. It's not privatized, so it's not going to change. So it's only going to get worse. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yep. I agree. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's little to no accountability when it comes to police officers. I was like in the last 1,000 cases of a police officer killing someone, like 4, I think what the article said was 4 actually faced charges and 1 was convicted. So it's like 1 out of 1,000 police officers actually gets convicted of killing someone.
0.04% chance of getting. It's a really small number like that.
Something like yeah. So, but killedbypolice.net. Go look up that website and feel your humanity break.
Do you guys think that UN peacekeepers would be involved?
No, there's no need for them.
I don't think so. I think that would. I mean, I just know there was the George Floyd's parents. You know, like we think the UN should intervene. The same thing happened. I was at Trayvon Martin. There was a previous event where the parents and the UN or the parents called for the UN to intervene. So that's not a new thing. But.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I'm open to all possibilities. Like I was talking to Jason Paradise. It's like with all the shit that's happened, like with Epstein last year, like they're human traffickers in high places in government, and like the media's been covering up for it since like 1996. Like this is
right.
I mean, like that's a big conspiracy. That like sexual blackmail, like that's a big conspiracy, right? So if that's true, right? Like I mean, that's kind of just generally known now. Like it's generally known. So. To what extent, to some of the details we don't, but we know what's going on. I mean, we know what's going on. So, like my stance now is like I'm just kind of lean on the side of like if it's something terrible that the state might be doing, they're probably doing it. Like there's no limits. There's no limits. That's probably the safest. It's probably the safest way to think right now.
And it's probably more than likely doing things that are worse than what you think.
Probably can't
That's
even
how
envision
I've been operating since about 01. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, take what the state's doing and times it by 10 to 100 because that's what they're really doing.
I mean, it's the same question I've asked. Yeah. I've asked a couple. I think I've asked you, Jason. But like, for either of you, could you have envisioned what has taken place this year so far? Like, was that within the realm? Like, was that within the realm of possibilities for you? Like, was it something you were actively thinking about?
No.
No, I would not. I would never have projected them having the entire world on lockdown and kind of voluntarily too, right?
That was the only way that they were ever going to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you know how they do their tricks, because it's all magic. They have to get you to do it.
Well, yeah, on that point, exactly. The government doesn't want to force you to behave or force you to follow the rules. They want you to want to behave and follow the rules.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they want you to embrace your
consent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Give us your moral agency.
I didn't think that this would happen, but I'm going to tell you guys, and you probably thought something would happen too, because everyone's overlooking what was happening before this all has been taking place. When I was watching Hong Kong, and I know what China is and what happened in Tiananmen Square, and how ruthless China is, just ruthless. I really did think something was going to happen. And I think that this is that something because, I mean, I don't know about the virus. I really don't know. I'm into health and wellness as you guys are. We could talk about that forever. But what was happening right before this was Epstein and Hong Kong and people around the world.
Other countries are protesting. Yeah.
Yes. The yellow jacket, the yellow vest. Yes. There was an uprising. It was happening. And now they have their type of uprising happening. When the real one was happening organically, now there's an uprising, but it needs some more organic.
To it. Again, Raheem Emanuel's quote: "Never let a crisis go to waste." Like with gun control, Dianne Feinstein has gun control bills pre-written and sitting in her desk that she waits until there's a shooting and then signs them and submits them.
Oh my God!
Like she's literally admitted to this.
These are evil sons of bitches. It's crazy that people you look at like people are really like what's the? I don't know if you've looked, but like if you looked at the U.S. debt clock, the amount of money per citizen
It
and
passed-
and
it passed 26
unfunded
trillion.
liabilities. No, that's the debts. I'm talking unfunded liabilities. It's like $480,000. Like with all the unemployment, it's like $480,000 per U.S. citizen. So you look at how it's a really bad financial state for a lot of people, right? But what are these motherfuckers doing? They are bailing out massive corporations. And by the way, the Blackstone, the big financial, big investment company that got all that money, they had a plan for this back in like last year. They had this kind of plan. Like there would have had to have been bailouts. That's why like that CARES Act, it was originally brought up last year. So like they're just repurposing these things to use them for the scamdemic, as I've been calling it. So like these are evil motherfuckers. Like people are struggling. They're I guess they're buying up everything on the cheap, further consolidating all of the wealth. And a lot of people are probably gonna start starving at some point soon. And I mean, what they do, they didn't even, and I'm not for the socialism, but they didn't even give them like a $1,200 just stimulus check. It's an advance on next year's theft, or whatever. So like they are like bending over the American people without remorse. And then they're giving additional money to Israel now too. Which you can't talk about that, right? So like it's
No.
Everybody else matters except for the people that are actually kind of suffering. And again, I'm not for the socialism. I'm just trying to get people to understand like these people are not on your side. Like why are you listening to them?
Going to make me put on my tinfoil hat and start talking about Cloward Piven here in a second.
Let's go. For anyone out there, I did drop a new music video called Mask, and it's about that exact rant you just went off on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust them with my wellness. I don't know about you. I mean,
Nope.
they literally are. The state is a threat to your life, and yet everybody's like, oh, okay, let me hear what you have to say about my health and wellness. What are you talking about? I mean, these people hate you, threaten you, steal from you, and they run experiments on everyone, including even worse, minorities. What they've done to the African American community. I worked in the Tuskegee experiment in that song. I'm talking about, dude. No one should be at all adhering to anything the CDC or anything says. No way.
If you really want to hear about the government dropping bricks in communities, go read about Freeway Rick Ross.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a good documentary on that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's some
Scandemic.
Scandemic. And Joe Biden was part of the bill that made that even worse by the discrepancy between cocaine and crack and punishment reforms.
Yep.
And how much worse the crack punishment was than the raw cocaine punishment was, which cocaine is a typical white drug. Crack was
supposedly
a typical black drug. Just
R.I.P. Gary Webb. Gary Webb. Donna just said in the chat.
Yep.
Shout out.
Committed suicide by shooting himself in the back of the head, according to the official report, twice.
Yeah, man. I feel everyone out there protesting, man. The government hates minorities. Yeah, they hate everyone, but they do. I mean, people are like, "Oh, all lives matter." Dude, I'm sorry, but they screw over black people for sure. And they've done it. They destroyed their community. And you know who did it? Was the government. So stop thinking that they are ever going to help you. They're not going to. You want to tear down some statues? Tear down the Federal Reserve and the IRS. Let's go.
The U.S. flag, the current U.S. flag, flew over slavery a hell of a lot longer than the Confederate cross.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, 4 years versus 88 years. I mean, come on now.
It's true. I love that. I'm so happy you said that. Make that a meme. Let's make that go viral. That's a meme right there.
I did like that they tore down the Columbus statue.
Yeah.
Like I was all about that one.
Now, unfortunately, they tore down an abolitionist statue as well. I saw on Twitter.
Yeah. And they defaced the 44th or the 54th Massachusetts Regulars.
Yeah.
Which was a black military regiment that fought in the Civil War against slavery.
Yeah.
Matthew Broderick, Denzel Washington did a movie about it called Glory.
That's my movie, Glory. Changed my life. Yep. Changed my life. My God, yeah. You guys, I got a statue that no one will mention or even talk about that has to do with slavery and the deepest conspiracy of maybe why all this is happening, and that's Albert Pike.
Yeah,
Where's his statue being torn down? That's the dude right there.
that's true. Yeah.
Albert Pike. Look him up. Anyone out there watching, you look him up on your own, and you'll get your mind blown.
That's funny. I've actually been I actually started back I started back at episode 1 of Mystery Babylon, Bill Cooper's Mystery Babylon. I'm on my second time through in like the past couple of weeks. So yeah, I do recommend.
Awesome.
I mean, if you want to go down that path, guys, and I do recommend it. Like I did that, and I also started back at episode 1 of Passio because I'm listening to everybody. It's kind of what I'm doing. I'm trying to get as much information as I can. So I do recommend those avenues.
I love it.
It's interesting.
What was
It's
the
fascinating
first
stuff.
one that you said? What was the first one you said?
Bill Cooper's
I heard
Mystery
Mark
Babylon.
Passio, but what is it?
Bill Cooper's Mystery Babylon. He did it in
Oh,
1993.
yes, Bill Cooper's Mystery of Babylon.
Mhm.
Yes, awesome.
Yep.
You got me. I'm gonna go back. I'm going back with you. I'm going back. Episode 1 of Bill Cooper.
Yep,
Thank you.
it's on a lot of his stuff is very inconvenient to access because it's on a website with like built in like 2006 with just MP3 files. But a podcast called The Infinite Fringe put out all of his Mystery Babylons on podcast feeds. So like if you just search for Mystery Babylon or Infinite Fringe, it'll pop up and you can just very easiest way to do it. Because this would have been like when I was 19 or 20, like 7 or 8 years ago, whenever I went through Bill's entire archive. I had this I worked at a moving company and I had to struggle to try to like use like this old school technology to listen to these broadcasts, but I made it work. Yeah, that's the easiest way to get to them.
That's awesome. YouTube has a lot of random shows from Bill.
Yep, in his
but
presentation
that
and
is
such.
awesome. Yeah, Donna said in the chat they're on YouTube. Yeah. Yes, awesome. You've made my day, boys. You guys are awesome.
Well, hey, we're definitely happy you're able to come on and talk and tell us a little bit about this Raz character. And again, I just want to caution people that mainstream media articles, or I guess you shouldn't trust government controlled media. So yeah, go back to the sources. Go to with any event that really happens, like this. Same with the scamdemic. I was watching all the videos out of China that somehow made it out of the Great Firewall into the interwebs and then disappeared. And we never hear about China again. Never hear about anything from China again. All those videos just kind of disappeared. But yeah, you can find all this stuff on Twitter, or, Fascist Tube, live streams. You can find these things places, and it's always best to go back to the original sources. Especially in this age of deception. So I want to just point that out, and also watch out for Photoshop tweets. Those will get you every time.
Yeah. And I am someone who legitimately has talked to Raz Simone, the so-called warlord in Seattle, who is a rapper like myself, and I have spoken with him a couple times, and I understand what's going on there might not be normal to everybody else, and I don't condone theft. I'm against it, but the couple times I've talked to him has been a way more pleasant talk than I have had with most rappers, let alone a well-known rapper, because if you look him up on YouTube, he has hundreds of thousands of views on tons of videos. So, and I know how most videos can be bought and paid for, but his isn't, and he is known in Seattle for the last 5 to 8 years. He's a known dude.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and I guess I'll also just mention too that again, age, kind of the age of deception right now with the flood from Event 201 and all that, flood of information. I don't know. Yeah, just I don't know. Be cautious. I guess is just the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, my 2 cents on it is like, this isn't something that just happened overnight, right? Like the police didn't all of a sudden become tyrannical, right? I mean, look at the militia movement, right? Ruby Ridge, Waco, the Montana Freemen. Like you can go back 50 years, 100. You go all the way back to the Whiskey Rebellion under George Washington. And you can understand that the government that exists is tyrannical. The police are the enforcement arm of that tyrannical entity. So this isn't something that just started happening, right? The people that with the Duncan Limp, right? The We Are Duncan Limp hashtags on everything. The people that are mourning Breonna Taylor, the people that are mourning George Floyd, Kelly Thomas,
Yeah.
right?
Kelly Thomas.
Oscar Grant.
Yep.
Like you can go back and another big one right now is the Tulsa race riots 100 years ago, right? White mob went into a black community and destroyed it and killed tons of people.
Black Wall Street.
Like this isn't a new issue, and the more people fail to see that, the deeper the divide, and the more humanity you lose. Like people need to stop and take a step back and like look at your own life, look at the things that you're doing. You Boogaloo boys, you people that support the militia movement, you people that support the Constitution, realize what you're saying is largely contrary to the core beliefs that you hold. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance on both sides. I mean, and we can even take it a step further and say, oh, these people should vote, blah, 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 blah. They've been voting for like 60 years.
Yeah.
For change. Yeah. And nothing's changed.
Right.
You go to the jury box. Nothing's changed. They've elected government officials and nothing. Like, you guys remember Ron Paul? What did he ever change?
And he finally realized that on his exit speech.
Yep, he did.
Not a fucking thing.
His exit speech is the bit.
It's my favorite thing he ever said.
Should listen to.
Yep. And for the record, Ron Paul at one point went to the UN to try to get a website taken away from his supporters because he wanted to run it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So.
Yep. Yeah, we all will get it. It takes time, and people got to remember what you guys are talking about. Be understanding towards others, and they'll get it. But it's great to see people take acts and steps towards, sovereignty and not needing the state's permission to exist. So I applaud that. Just don't hit people and don't take their stuff, or else we're gonna have a problem.
Indeed. Indeed, very good, very good. Well, Brent, do you want to go ahead? You want to plug where can people find all of your stuff?
Go to YouTube or Google or your favorite search engine and type in Blooded the Brave or Kyle Reese. I am Kyle Reese from 1984 is my synthwave artist name, and I have an album out now called Sovereign Soldier. My 10th studio album, I just released it, and I got a new album I'm working on and just dropped a new music video on my YouTube channel. You guys are awesome. This broadcast has been great. Thank you for having me.
Hey, much appreciated, man. Definitely appreciate it.
My first time talking to you on video, and I couldn't be happier that it was about this.
Yes, that's great. That's great. I'm gonna have you guys on my show if you don't mind.
Right on, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'd be an honor.
Okay, I would love it. Thank you. Awesome. All right. Well, you guys have a good day.
Yep, you too, man.
All right,
thanks
brother.
a lot.
All right.
Peace.
See you. Peace.
All right, so that was pretty awesome. Definitely pretty awesome.
That was cool to have him on.
Yep, indeed. Yeah, no, I need to get him back on properly. Need a lot of people back on properly. I've been thinking about it, but yeah. Anyway, I guess any closing thoughts, Jason, before I close her out? I need to eat lunch.
Yeah. This is a learning opportunity. This is going to set a precedent. This is not an isolated incident. This will happen again because government will not change. They will kill another black man on video or another person on video, and this will happen again. And it will probably likely happen when Derek Chauvin gets a minimum sentence or gets charges dropped or whatever. But this will happen again. So This is a learning opportunity. Stack up on beans, bullets, and Band-Aids, and take notice of that.
Indeed. Very good, man. Well, looks like oh, there we go. Skype unfroze. I was gonna say it's good timing. But yeah, certainly appreciate. This was your idea to do this episode, and I mean we need to do one on it anyway because we've talked about temporary autonomous zones and permanent autonomous zones, and yeah, this is a case study, and this is there's been a lot of unprecedented things that have happened this year, and this is just another one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to see what else transpires, and of course that is a developing situation. So things could get, it's possible things could get really tyrannical, really bad. Certainly is, and we aren't ignoring that. But we're again just trying to point out the potential positives that could come from this, and also things that we can learn and take into the future. So Jason, thanks a lot for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. It was fun. I'm glad we did it.
Yes, indeed, indeed. All right, and that's all we have for you. Please check out our sponsor, Libertarian Attack Publications, for all of your anarchist Vonu book needs. And the website is libertarianattack.com. When you get there, you'll find a 10% off coupon code as well as our 2020 promotion. Any order for physical goods will come with a free paperback book, Kerry Thornley's The Permanent Floating Voluntary Society. While you're there, right at the top of the page, you'll see a couple of fields to join the LUA Pub Vonu email newsletter. If you sign up there, you'll get a few digital books for free and access to my admittedly irregular email updates. Other than that, please consider sharing this podcast around, whether this episode or another one. I would really like to see more people exposed to this liberating freedom strategy of Vonu, and your help in that would be invaluable. Our website is vonupodcast.com, and there are a lot of great free resources available there. You can go to the Start Here tab or the Free Vonu Books tab. Lots of free resources. Certainly something for everyone. I think that's all we have for you. I suppose, depending upon what happens, we may have to do an update episode on the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. But otherwise, I'll continue re-releasing the Building the Second Realm series, and we'll also be putting out a couple episodes on Bill Cooper, The Hour of the Time, debunking germ theory back in the early 1990s. Really, really incredible stuff that, if investigated on a wide scale, could have prevented a lot of pain and misery. I mean, we talked about the $480,000 per U.S. citizen in terms of unfunded liabilities. I mean, this is not anyone who tells you that you can get out of this is economically and numerically illiterate. It is impossible. Are you ready to pay up your $480,000 portion, Jason? And that's not counting the debt either. That's not counting. No. That's not counting the debt. That's just unfunded liabilities. We haven't even gotten to the debt yet. So anyone. No. So for again, to one more call to the folks in left right paradigm. Anyone who tries to talk to you about the national debt or anything like that, or decreasing the budget, they're manipulating you, because this is not feasible. Like, this is as Spiro Skouras put out a video on the Great Reset, the World Economic Forum, and these world organizations are making a push to push for things, and they're very open and out in the record for it. The stuff is not hidden anymore, and I really hope that more people would really take a vested interest in the truth, whether it's for your own sake or for your progeny's sake. But please take an interest in it. Please start investigating, and let's try to prevent some of the continued suffering that doesn't have to come. If you just start paying attention and start giving a shit about things that are happening in the external world, to be a little abrasive about it. But those two sentences that I said on Germ Theory. I'll probably get this video stripped from Fascist Tube and also Facebook here. So since especially Google is now into the pharmaceutical industry and has a vested interest in such falsehoods continuing, so please also make sure to follow us on BitChute and Library. And yeah, until next time, stay safe and stay liberated. Sorry about all the technical difficulties, but I will get this put out in a nice format in post-production. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one, and we will talk soon.
I'm William Cooper, and you're listening to The Hour of the Time. Anyone who ever comes to me and tells me that music doesn't penetrate directly to the soul doesn't have a soul. I mean, that's the only interpretation I could ever make to any statement like that made by anyone. Tonight, folks, we've got to get you back into the stream. And the way I do that is I quit telling you about my research and I quote exactly from the horse's mouth, so you'll know that what you're hearing on this program, The Hour of the Time, is not being made up by me or anyone else. And it's there for anyone to find if you'll just get off your butts and go to the library and start digging and looking and searching and reading. And quit listening to what you're told, including what you're told on this show. Remember, my admonition is not to ever believe anything you hear from the mouth of anyone, or that you read from the book written by anyone, or from Dan Rather on the 6 o'clock news, or the President of the United States, or Chuck Carter, Tom Valentine, Rush Limbaugh, the man who's sitting on half of his brain, or indeed from even your own mother. For folks, the deception in this world right now that's being promulgated in order to bring about a one-world totalitarian socialist government is so deep that you better be standing on a stump, or you might drown. I urge you all, if you can find a copy of Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, to purchase it, take it home, and read it. Mr. Hall told his readers that those who had been initiated into the mysteries were the secret power behind the governments of the past. He wrote this about these ancient initiates in his book entitled What the Ancient Wisdom Expects of Its Disciples. Quote, "They are the invisible powers behind the thrones of earth, and men are but marionettes dancing while the invisible ones pull the strings. We see the dancer, but the master mind that does the work remains concealed by the cloak of silence." Unquote. Remember, I told you folks that if you don't open your mind, and if you don't quit believing dogma, if you don't quit believing what people tell you, if you don't stop believing what Dan Rather tells you on the 6 o'clock news, or your local minister down at your church, or your mother, or the President of the United States, and if you don't start digging to find the truth yourself, you, the sheeple, are the marionettes dancing while the invisible ones pull the strings. And until you change that pattern of your life, you will always be the puppet on the end of someone else's string. And I know that that's not what you want to be, is it? Well, if it's not, change your life now. Stop believing what you're told, including what you hear on this show, unless it checks out in your own research, your own experience, your own digging. Each of us must find our own truth. And if we are really looking and digging, we're ultimately going to come to something near the same truth for all of us. And I can tell you now that most of us have been living in fantasy land for all of our lives. We don't even know anything near what the truth of any matter is. We must begin an honest search. Starting from the beginning, wiping the slate clean, cleansing our mind, and looking at the world, beginning again, as though through the eyes of a newborn child. And you will find that most of what you've ever been taught in your entire life is a lie.